Good evening and welcome to a beautiful and sunny Briancon evening for World Cup number 3 of the IFSC lead season. Before we bring you this evening's semi-finals, here's how qualifiers went down this morning. Stop number 3 on the IFSC lead tour has brought us to the heart of the southern French Alps and the ancient Roman town of Briancon, perched at 1,300 metres and enjoying 300 days of sunshine per year. Since the European Championships at the end of June, most of the athletes have now been competing pretty much constantly for a month, and many only arrived in Briancon on Wednesday, having made the long journey over from the World Games in Wrocław, Poland, which took place last weekend. In the women's qualifiers, the routes were interesting and challenging, and most of the usual suspects did well enough on them to guarantee a semi-final plate, with Matilda Becerra, a fresh back from injury Magdalena Rock, and Evgenia Kazbekova being the highest profile casualties of this morning's action. Anak Verhoeven has been very vocal about wanting harder routes and lead World Cups, and she was certainly challenged today, but still managed 2 tops. Joining her in the 2 top club were Mina Markovic, Jane Kim and Janja Garnbret. At this early stage of the season, those 4 climbers do seem to be out on their own slightly, albeit with Jessie Pilz and Julia Chanaudy, amongst others, not far behind. Those looking for chinks in Janja's armour would have been disappointed today though. She looked in complete control en route to her 2 tops. Team Austria had a decent day today as well, with Hannah Schubert, Julia Fisser, Katharina Posch and Laura Stuckler all through. Team USA also enjoyed a good day, with Brooke Rabatou and Margot Hayes both through. Margot Hayes, talk us through the qualifying routes. The first one in particular looked really kind of funky, 3D climbing.
It's funky. When I saw it, I got really excited. I saw a couple jumps, and the volumes are really fun. So it was definitely, I think, a little nerve-wracking for everybody at the beginning, because the powerful moves were in the beginning and you had to commit, and they were kind of on slopers. But I mean, once you got through that, it was okay, and it really, even through that part, the whole route was set really beautifully and it flowed very well.
And on the second one, you weren't too far off the top.
Not too far off the top. I felt tired on that one. I got real tired on that one, so I'm hoping I'll be in the semi tonight, and I'm gonna rest up and give it my all.
I really enjoyed the routes. They were pretty boulder. One was pretty bouldering, one was quite sustained, and it was nice to have a bit of both.
And we haven't seen you at a World Cup yet this year. What have you been doing so far in 2017?
After Italy, the European Championships, I stayed home to compete in our national bouldering championships, and then I took another week or 2 for training over Chamonix. I wish I'd done the comps, but I'm here now.
Julia, 3rd last week in the World Games, and a really good morning here in Briancon. This is a great week for you.
Yeah, very great week. I was so happy for my podium, the first for me. So a new start, I think, and new feelings. So I'm more confident than the other World Cups.
Over in the men's event, tops were harder to come by, and nobody, including Chamonix World Cup winner Marcello Bombardi, managed one today. Marcello, winner last time in Chamonix. What's the last 2 weeks been like for you?
Yeah, it's been pretty strange because everybody was asking me interviews, photos, and it's been strange to be the winner, and yes, strange.
And you climbed really well in the qualifiers this morning. Has your mentality changed after Chamonix?
I was a bit afraid for the first route because, after you win, you have more expectations and from the people and from yourself. But I managed to climb well, and I'm happy with that, and it's okay with the qualifications.
Elsewhere, Domen Skofic continued his erratic start to the season, qualifying 19th. Domen doesn't quite seem in the same mindset as last season, which included a win here in Briancon, but there is still plenty of events to go, and he will have a shot at claiming a place in the final this evening in the semis. Alexei Rubtsov, meanwhile, seems to be thoroughly enjoying the lead experience and went through in 22nd today after a typically determined performance. Team France had an up and down morning, with 5 of their male climbers missing out on the semis and 4 making it, including Thomas Juan and the seemingly ageless Romain Desgrange, who has been in scintillating form this season and topped the qualifying rankings this morning. Having already won a World Cup and the European Championships this year, he is many people's favourite to claim a win here in Briancon. Finalist last time out in Chamonix, Loic Timmermans, is also through, as is Sean McCall, who seems to be enjoying the lead season, and Sebastian Halenka.
Yeah, it was a solid start, and I mean, this is like real lead climbing again. The routes are totally different. The routes are the way I know them from the previous years, and that's what I've prepared for. So it felt pretty good.
As ever, full results can be found at ifsc-climbing.org. And I've just hot-footed my way down from the stage into the commentary box, and I'm delighted to say once again, got Mike Langley alongside me. Mike, your first time in Briancon, how have you enjoyed this wonderful town?
Yeah, like you say, first time here, and what a place to come. I'm so privileged to be here, so thankful to be able to join you guys. As the papers fly, I mean, the weather has been absolutely perfect here. I mean, it's been hot, it's 26 degrees plus today. The sun has just dropped behind the mountains in front of us, and it's really set to be an exciting finals. Yeah, we do actually get 300 days a year of sunshine here in Briancon, but very often the IFSC seems to hit the very few rainy days we do get. I'm pleased to say we've got a beautiful evening here for this evening's semi-finals, and the last forecast I saw said that the finals would be exactly the same. The sun, as Mike mentioned, has just disappeared behind the mountain. The wall an hour ago was roasting hot. It's now cooling off pretty quickly. Mike, you've been to have a look at the routes. What are your first impressions? Well, I think the route setters have had a tough task. These routes were set actually during the Chamonix World Cup. So those routes, there's 4 of them here, would have seen kind of, I don't really want to call it a disaster, but the troubles that they had in Chamonix. Obviously too many tops in the qualifying rounds, the semi-final rounds, and in the finals especially. The route setters here, I think they've done a good job. They look like they've gone for a more classic kind of style of routes, a bit more resistance. The men's route especially is a bit of a mix of kind of the classic moves, mixed with the modern style, a few dynos and a few kind of lively pieces. In the women's route, kind of again quite classic, more resistance. And we'll see shortly, it's actually the men's route which is on the left in the red holds, and the women's on the right on the green holds, and we're really looking forward to it. I think we're in for a good show. And we've got Chief Route Setter Jan Zabranek alongside us in the commentary box. Jan, we just have a look at the men's route. Talk us through it.
So the men's route is on the left side of the wall. It starts a little bit tricky. There are a lot of slopey holes. We were hoping for the shade get on the wall so the slopers get some friction, which happened just a few minutes ago. So after the slow beginning, you have to be very careful. You go into the steep part of the wall, is nearly 45 degrees, and we see some great volumes there and long moves. It will be some swinging, not really big jumps, but we want to have some action there, you know, so the climbers cut loose and do something funny, but it's very physical and we have to keep climbing. Just before the leap, it ease off a little bit, you can rest, and the head wall is really technical. The hold gets smaller, and you have to be very precise, and the last few pinches needs a lot of power, and we are hoping to see some good fight on the top of the wall.
Hopefully we'll move over to the right and have a look at the women's route. There are our belayers and the PGHM, who are the mountain police here in the French Alps. If you ever see a blue helicopter flying around in the French Alps, they're the guys inside it. For once a year they become professional belayers. And here's the women's semi-final route.
Okay, in the women climb is the similar style for the men. It's a little bit more resistance. You start very technical, you have to be careful not to slip. These volumes are a little tricky for the girls. There is a tricky move to the steep section. It's like a little jump. You have to commit 100%.
Onto that large triangular volume.
Yeah, exactly. So you may even see some falls there. And then little bit higher over the section it's pumpier. And we'll see if the camera goes up again.
Here we go.
This is the snake. It's the traverse from the left to the right. It's really resistance, and here is where the climb starts, so being really, really hard. So this may be the section even where we can see a lot of girls struggling. Last hold before the leap, again, little shake off. It's more like a mental rest for the girls than the physical rest. And then the head wall is again very delicate. You have to be careful, you have to slow down, focus on every movement. You know, like you can stay a little bit out of focus and you come out of the wall. So the holes are much smaller, you have to slow down, and the climb is designed so maybe we can see even some top in the girls category.
And Jan, you explain when you set these routes, because it hasn't been a traditional route setting week.
Yeah, the Briancon is very special. We set here always 2 weeks before the competition. We call it pre-setting. So we arrive with the setting team. We set the finals. After that, we test them. We set the semifinals. We set the qualification. After we mark everything, take it back to the box, lock it in the room so nobody can see, nobody can touch. And we have little holidays with the family, and then we come here just the day before the competition. We reset everything back and try to remember how it was. And yeah.
And in Chamonix, we had too many tops. What did you learn from Chamonix, and have you changed the routes after watching it?
Yeah, it was a little problem because at the comp at Chamonix we were setting at the same time here. So we were a little bit checking the comp on our mobile phones. So we saw the action over here. The comp is different, you know, the wall is different, condition, the climbers are the same, but they climb differently. So we always try to learn and try to, you know, predict what will happen, but it's always new experience for us. So each mistake we do, we try to learn from, and we try to not to repeat, but, you know, sometimes.
Jan, I have a question for you. We talked just before this semi-final round, just as the first climber comes onto the wall. I just want to ask you, they said that you need to get a result in this semi-final round because of the potential weather problems tomorrow for the finals. Obviously, we're praying that the weather's going to be good, but you need to get a result here today.
Well, it would be nice because I had the chance to set in Briancon 3 times before already. And the weather here is really unpredictable. So they say tomorrow may rain or not, and the roof over the wall is not really big. So if the rain comes, there is a big chance of cancellation of the final. So we need the result to be sure that we have the winner.
Okay, Jan, thank you very much for your time. We'll let you relax.
Okay, thank you.
Meanwhile, we've got our first climber on the wall. Min-Seon Kim of Korea, 20 years old. First to take on this women's route. I can tell you just off screen to the left, Keiichiro Koranaga is out on the men's route as well. Snuck into today's semi-finals, a man you would have expected to be much higher up the ranking.
Well, especially Keiichiro, obviously he took the win at the World Games just last week, so he's on top form. So like I say, amazing for him to actually scrape through 11 plus on his one of his qualifying routes, and then a better score on the other route. So to scrape through for him is obviously a big relief.
Yeah, we had no tops in this morning's men's qualifiers. Quite a few in the women's. The big four, if you like, they seem to be emerging as the big four of 2017. Janja Garnbret, Mina Markovic, Jane Kim and Anna Verhoeven all topped both routes. But in the men, no tops in the qualifiers. Tough routes for the men. But as you say, Keiichiro, bit of it.
That was the move that the head route setter was explaining there. It says 100% commitment needed, and the first climber actually missed that section, and we found an early drop on the route.
So here's Keiichiro. As we mentioned, bit of a disaster on one of the qualifying routes. He fell very low down around the third quick draw, the 11th move. Just a slip, but it left him under an awful lot of pressure, and he did just about enough. As I said, qualified in 26th. Remember, we have 26 climbers in the semi-final in the men and 26 in the women. Keiichiro was 26th, but if you get in, you give yourself a chance, and he's done just that. Be interested to see how conditions affect things. It's still some residual warmth in the air from the heat earlier on. About 5:30, 6 o'clock this evening was about the hottest time of the day, and the sun only disappeared off the wall about half an hour ago. So you would imagine conditions will improve as the semi-final progresses.
So Keiichiro then already halfway up the wall and looking really strong, looking really solid, but that's what you expect from this guy. Second last time out in Chamonix, winner of the World Games in Poland just last week. So Keiichiro already putting on a good show here. This is where we think the route's going to liven up a bit. There was potential for that to be quite a dynamic move, but Keiichiro is so strong, no issues at all. As you can see in the bottom right hand side there, next climber out in the women's, Helen Janiko comes out, but here we go, we stick with Keiichiro onto the top head wall then. This is really interesting so far, Charlie. The first climber out, obviously this is a bit of an anomaly for him to be such a strong athlete, but putting on a really good show here, and it gives us an early indicator on this route.
Yeah, for sure. As you mentioned, very strong climber, out of position if you like. Jan Zabranek, who we've just spoken to, will be watching this nervously, but as you mentioned, Kochiro recently crowned champion at the World Games, so comes close on that final move.
Yeah, that was a really good burn there. I think the route setters aren't expecting too many tops here because they really do need a result going into tonight's final. So I think they'll be pretty happy to see one of the better athletes right at the top of the wall. I think it's a good start from the route setters' point of view.
Yeah, I think normally the route setters might be quite nervous if you see the first climber out in a semi-final get that high in the route, but it is Kochiro. So that high point may well stay for a while. We shall see. Helen Janico, meanwhile, is out.
Helen Janico, another great athlete down the years. Lots of finals in the past, 11 finals since 2014, so Helen Janico is one of the athletes definitely to watch here, and obviously being from Team France, she's going to be no doubt popular amongst the athletes. Not the athletes, she's popular amongst the athletes, but popular amongst the fans as well.
Yeah, strong support here in Briançon for the French athletes, as you'd expect. Salome Roman, she'll be out 17th. She is a Briançon native. She should enjoy particularly strong support, you would imagine. Helen, meanwhile, finding a way onto the volume. That was the first tricky move that Jan Zabranek mentioned. Min-Seon Kim stopped heading up there. No such worries for Helen Janico. She's chalking up, getting something in the arms. To give you some idea of the profile of our wall here in Briançon, it's separated into 4 sections. It's 3 meters, it's plumb vertical. It goes slightly overhanging, which is the section that Helen has her feet on. It then goes very steeply overhanging, past 45 degrees on the section that she's now entering, and it stays that way for 6-7 meters and then eases off to a head wall, which is still heavily overhanging, but ever so slightly less so than the section before it.
So good close-up angle here then of Helen Janico as she works her way towards the snake. As the route setter put it, it's a long tufa style climb with lots of screw-ons added onto it. Good to see a close-up just how bad those holds are, what these athletes have got to contend against. Fia Ravanello, also from Team France, on the left-hand route as we look at it as well.
Yeah, they had a good qualifiers, the French, a bit up and down. Some of the climbers you might have expected to make it didn't, but Helen did, and she's now on this key traverse right that we mentioned.
Drops nicely into the knee bar there. That would be a bit of a rest. Can be feeling the pain on the knee slightly as the friction digs into the skin, but Helen Janico looking really good so far.
Yeah, this is the key traverse, as Jan described. It's tension, it's physical, it's keeping your feet in a position where they can actually do something.
She's really starting to fight a little bit here as she's trying to find the method through here, and a bit of trouble. When we looked at that sort of long snake earlier, Charlie, it looks like the route setters have blocked the good bit in the end, and you do wonder if the athletes are kind of familiar with that hold. It's not one I know that well, but the athletes, some of them, especially potentially the French, may be familiar with that hold, and she went looking for it and it wasn't there, as we see Fio Ravanello struggled then. Good effort from Fio, but I don't think that's going to be enough realistically for him. So the 2 French athletes depart from the stage, taking the round of applause, and well deserved. Team France always putting on a good show. Good to see the compatriots there fist bumping as they head off to the stage. Unlikely to see them later on in the competition, unfortunately.
That section on the women's, that traverse up and right towards our wall-mounted camera, it does look desperate. I think energy management will be key because you need a lot to spare when you get there.
Let's have a look at Fio then. You can see as he's into that steep, kind of big, powerful moves, quite dynamic, a lot of locking off, and yeah, I think it's pretty lively through there. But obviously we saw Kochiro just cruising through there, really. But that, like we said, that's what we expect. But time will tell if he is going to be leading the way for much longer with that high point of his.
So out now, Laura Stuckler of Austria. Had a good day, the Austrian women. 4 of them into the semi-final today.
So Laura's one of those athletes who's come through the youth system, lots of good results, European Youth Cup, actually a first in Switzerland 2017, finals in the youth lead and boulder throughout 2016, 2017, so a top athlete and one to watch. Let's see what Laura can make of this women's semi-final on the right hand side of the wall.
And we've got Helen alongside us. We've just seen you come down from the wall.
Yeah.
Talk us through the route. It looks very physical.
Yeah, it's physical, but you have a lot of heel hooks. It's fine, but we hesitated a lot on what we have to do on this long volume, so I hesitated too much in my climb. I think if you go straight and to the right, better straight, it's easier.
And what do you think is the key to success on this route?
I think you have to really climb well, use your feet well, not to lose too much energy in the roof, and find the right beta on this movement.
Okay, well enjoy watching the rest of the semi-final. Thank you for talking to us.
Thank you.
As Helen Jellicoe just said then, it's all going to be about the sequence through the snake, as we're calling it. But Laura heading up to that, that was the move that Richard was talking about earlier. We mentioned it once already where we lost the first athlete. Dynamic move, it's all about the commitment, and she looked like she was going to kind of try and go statically, and it was kind of half static, half dynamic there. Not too much confidence on that move, but now she's actually got the good hold in her hand. She can take a moment and have a look up through that next 45-degree section, through the route where it really starts to ramp up, the resistance starts to kick in.
And from all France, it's all Austria. Matthias Schiestel, you can see him bottom right of your screen, having a good fight on this men's route. Lives in Meyerhofen in the Zillertal Valley, which if you've ever been to the Zillertal, you'll know is not a bad result in life. And making extremely good progress, heading for the head wall. Just that key move, the switch through with the right hand. Just slowing down to the stage, looked like he enjoyed that.
Yeah, a pretty good effort, I would say, from Matthias. Got to be happy with that. Not too many kind of big results for him in the IFSC Lead World Cups, kind of leading up to this point in his career, but yeah, a good climb nonetheless. As we look at Laura then, this is where it really starts to get real, this is where it starts to build, and this is where we just heard from Helen Jellicoe, it's all about the sequence, so a few technical moves to start in the setup, and then you have holds on top of the volume and holds on the underside of the volume, and it's just about the sequence and how to use them. And these climbers, you didn't see it, but they're just as we lose her. It's a good effort, but once again we're losing a climber there. Laura Stöckler from Team Austria it goes, but I was just saying they were struggling to see the sequence from the ground during their 6 minutes observation. So we have another look at what happened to Matthias here. This is the move Charlie was talking about, the big crossover. Didn't go for the clip early, it's a sure sign of being in a bit of trouble. I think he was just a bit pumped out there, Charlie, just kind of run out of juice.
And you wonder if he had made that move, how he might have then gone back and clipped. But just go for the move if in doubt.
Yeah, I think at that stage on the route, realistically, he probably knows he's not got much more to give, so just goes for one more move, try and get an extra point.
So there's Loic Timmermans. We saw him in the final in Chamonix 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, 5th out in Chamonix. Good result for him, and so he'll be looking to better this position, coming out 4th in the qualifier, so 22nd. 22nd after the qualifying route sorting, as we said, no tops in the qualification round. So let's see if we can see some tops tonight. Perfect conditions for climbing here in Briancon. Sun's just dropped behind the mountains, spotlights are on. Absolutely perfect scene.
And fresh from the wall, we've got Matthias. Talk us through your climb. That last move, it looked like you just had nothing left.
I had a really good go, and maybe a little bit tired from the qualifiers tomorrow.
This
morning, this morning. And was super good route, a nice route, cool, dynamic moves, I love it.
Yeah, it looks really physical as well. Is it quite a high risk route?
Yes, for sure, because of the dynamic moves. Sometimes you have to jump, or maybe only I. But,
me and you are a similar height. I know your pain, you know.
But okay, No, it was super good. Good friction as well. The sun was in before and now it's out for 15 minutes, I think. And it was great.
That's interesting. We were discussing that. The friction has improved. You think the conditions are quite good now?
Yeah, not too bad. I thought before when I visit the route, that I have to climb so early. But now I was really excited that it's so good. Yeah, it was nice.
That's great to hear. Hopefully we will see a top, and great effort. That was great to watch. You were fighting till the last move.
Thank you.
Thanks, man.
Great interview there with the Austrian Matthias, and I just don't know how these guys managed to climb such a hard route like that and have any breath left to actually talk to us. But fantastic scenes here so far in Briancon as Loic Timmermans sets up through this hard, steep section, and one of the climbers obviously had finals last time out in Chamonix, so expecting big things here from Loic.
Meanwhile, Anne-Sophie Koller is out. Switzerland. Loic making good progress. So this is the move where we saw Matthias fall.
And you can see there Loic's got the clip that Matthias kind of was too tired to clip, pushes on into the head wall now. This is going to be a good opportunity to see how hard this top section is after Cachero went through this without too many issues, but Loic's starting to look tired now. Come on, Loic. Great work on the hills there, really technical, really digging in the hills. He's looking really good, and you can just see how bad these crimps are for these guys. Top of the wall here at Briancon. Loic Timmermans then into the final few moves. Last quick draw for Loic now. Great close up, you can see the light fading in the background. Spotlights are on. Loic Timmermans now looking solid. Options for the feet. Couple of good holes. Oh, he just fired up to it with the left hand. Looked like he just sagged back a little bit and the fingers just didn't engage properly with that pinch, but a great burn from Loic, and we'll see where that puts him in correlation to Kochira Koronaga.
As we watch Anne-Sophie Koller, we've got our previous climber, Laura Stuckler. Laura, talk us through what Sophie's experiencing right now.
Well, it was amazing to climb in the semi-final at the World Cup. It was my first one because I haven't competed in so many World Cups now because I'm still in the youth and I'm concentrating on youth comps right now. So it was just amazing, basically. I really enjoyed it.
As we see Anne-Sophie off, we will try and get a word with her. How did you find the route then?
It was nice. There was a kind of difficult move at the beginning.
Up to the triangular volume, the yellow volume.
Yeah. There were a few rest positions, but at the move where I fell, I made a small mistake because I had my right hand on the crimp, and I didn't have enough place to match the crimp, and I was somehow stuck a little.
Well, I'm glad you enjoyed it. It was great to watch, and thank you very much for talking to us.
Well, as Laura said then, she made a small mistake, and I think at this time in the semi-finals, looking to get 26 climbers down to just 8, it's small mistakes that make a difference. The difference between finals and not, these climbers are all so talented, and speaking of talented climbers, Alexei Rupsov out to join the competition in the men's. Alexei currently sitting second in the world rankings for bouldering, turning his hand to the routes. Does a few routes in his time, but not too many. Definitely a boulder specialist. Let's see what Alexei can do here in Briancon. A real resistance route here with a few kind of modern moves, and that's definitely one right there. Swinging across, taking the cut loose. Alexei Rupsov on the wall then.
Yeah, on the highlights we showed you at the start of the show, that bit of Alexei Rupsov, that hand just peeling off, that was unbelievable. Great shot from the cameraman, and he's thoroughly enjoying lead.
That's quite interesting to see. Like, he's obviously just doing all of the comps he can kind of get amongst at the moment. Alexei, he's just kind of doing the lead. He's doing the bouldering. Is he doing speed as well?
We certainly haven't seen him in any finals if he is doing.
So no issues here then for Alexei so far. can see the strength through the arms here of the boulderer Alexei Rubtsov from Russia. Second overall in the bouldering. Good sequence here early from the route setters. Alexei choosing the match on the volume and rolling over to the pocket with the left hand. There is a smaller hold there for the right as well. There it is. And this is where the route really starts to open up. The sequences start to get a bit wider, the holds get a bit poorer, and really kind of left, right, and kind of big moves in between them. Alexei struggling to find his feet here, got a bit of trouble. Left arm's just raising slightly. Controls it though, it's good work here from Alexei. He's got to control himself, sets his feet nicely there, takes on some chalk. Alexei just managed to compose himself again here as he heads into this next tough session, but Charlie, I think he's looking tired.
He is, but there's one thing you know you're going to get from Alexei Rubtsov. It is a massive fight, and that's exactly what he's providing.
Great work there from the toe hook. Brilliant angle, you can just see the tension required to keep that in. So minimalist keeping the toes in like that, and Alexei Rubtsov really, like you say, putting in a good fight. Oh, and just as he went to kick the left foot up, the toe just didn't quite hit its target, and out he goes.
Yeah, you could see it happening just half a second before he actually came off. You could just see the foot catch. So Julia Fischer is out also of Austria. Onto the women's route. She's done the first hard move onto the bottom of that triangular volume.
So as we heard in one of the earlier interviews, that the bottom of the route is no gimme. It's straight into it. Kind of a few tricky moves to start and some resistance required right from the first couple of quick draws. So Julia Fischer then from Team Austria starts our campaign in the semi-final. You can just see the size of some of these holes these athletes have got to contend with early on in the route.
Yeah, and I really can't state just how steep this section of wall is. Massively over 45 degrees overhanging. Spoke to Julia yesterday. She seemed very relaxed, very calm ahead of the World Cup. She's only 20 years old. And she enters the key section, traversing over to the right towards our camera.
So no athlete so far in the women's campaign has got through this section successfully. Ellen Janiko got right to the end of this twofer. Be quite interesting to see how they score these holds through here. Hopefully we'll be able to have a little look at that later on. There's quite a lot of holds. We can't see the ones from that angle on the underside of the snake volume. There we go, just a couple on the right hand side, and this is where we saw one of the previous athletes just struggling. See across the top of the screen, it's Helen Janiko leading the way with 29 and Kachiro Koronaga 35 plus. But Julia Fischer's in a bit of trouble here. She's using one of the footholds, but drops down nicely and drops into a very deep drop knee on the right leg to get the clip. Trouble here once again through this section.
Once again, all Austria on the wall. See there, bottom right of your screen, Max is out. We've had all France, all Austria, and for a second time it's all Austria. And she knew she was just running out of juice there. As we mentioned, it's conserving energy so vital. You've got to try and figure out the sequence while simultaneously keeping moving. Extraordinarily difficult section this for the women. She
just have another look there, Charlie. Like, she's obviously got a right hand on that central screw on, and it's really hard to read, like you say, hard to read where the hands should go through that sequence and where the feet should go, and you've got to get through it efficiently and correctly, which is a real challenge. But Julia's coming out fifth with 26 climbers, so I think realistically we're going to see a lot more kind of high points than that.
Time will tell. It's certainly going to stop a lot of climbers that traverse out to the right though. Meanwhile, here's Max, another man we spoke to yesterday. Check out the IFSC Facebook page. You had a quick interview with him and Julia, asking them about their preparations for the Briancon World Cup. They both seemed, as I say, relaxed, in good form, and enjoying Briancon. To be honest, if you don't enjoy Briancon, I'm not really sure what you would enjoy.
Especially as a climber.
When I say it's one of the best towns in France, when you know the competition, you know what a big statement that is. Wonderful place. Max, one of the few Austrian climbers who doesn't live in Innsbruck, lives over in Salzburg, spending an increasing amount of time in Innsbruck as he uses the amazing new facility they built there that we'll be visiting for the Youth World Championships later in the year, and looking in great shape, looking very composed. He's not a climber that gives a lot away, but The look on his face, he looks like he's going for a stroll down Briancon High Street and having a little cafe au lait. Looks very relaxed at this stage.
He's looking very relaxed, but he's putting a lot of power there down through the fingers. The earlier pocket there, just on the back 3 fingers, and just so solid through the arms. Max Rudiger then just taking a bit of a swing out, but controls it nicely. This is good work from Max. As on the bottom of the right hand side you can see Moe Yoshimura, Team Japan. Great shot there, look at the hill just flexing under the force there.
Another method again here from Max.
We actually read this as a bit more of a dynamic section through here, but the climbers really kind of using their brains, using the different methods available to them, and it'll be interesting when we see some of the more dynamic climbers later what their method is through there, but slow and steady so far for Max, and it really seems to be working for him.
Just about controls it.
That's where we lost the previous climber into these savage crimps.
Yeah, that's where we saw Alexi fall. It's just, whereas Max just controlled his feet as he came out away from the wall, Alexi's just fired off quickly and he caught one as he went. Max just manages to control it, and as I say, still looks calm, still looks composed.
Just such a steady head on him. You can just see no flinching, no shaking. This is really good here, and we're starting to see quite a few of the male competitors high up on the route here. There's big move now onto the pinch, and that is exactly what you don't need at this stage in the game. Wide pinches to finish the route. You can hear him hopefully power screaming his way through these top moves. Oh! And a great burn then from Max Rudiger.
Yes, superb effort. Certainly gave that everything. Looked in complete control, even through the steepest section of the wall. Didn't really look too troubled. Great stuff. So, Mo Yoshimura is out of Japan. They don't enjoy the dominance in lead that they do in bouldering as a team. Still didn't have a bad qualifying round this morning. Let's have another look at Max.
So you can see how bad the pinch is for the right hand. A lot of weight going through the thumb, and just as he hits that, he just slides off, and that's what we saw from Loic, I believe it was. And just it was the right hand that went in the end. But a really good fight, and potentially enough to get through to the finals tomorrow, but time will tell. I'm predicting a couple of tops here in the men's route.
I think you could well be right. Remember, we take 8 climbers into the final. And as in the semi-final, they climb in reverse order. So if you qualify first, you climb last in the final. It's the same in the semi-final. Qualify 26th, you climb first here in the semi, as Kichiro Koranaga did earlier. And his compatriot Yoi is on the Moisus is on the wall. Francesco Vetterata is out, bottom right. Italian climber. Another country that had a good qualifying round this morning. Marcello Bombardi will be out later. Stefano Gisolfi will be out later. Both of them World Cup winners.
Let's see what the Japanese athlete makes of this snake section then. Once again using that left hand jib, and again we lose a climber through there. That's all of the athletes so far, apart from the early drop from, I think it was the first athlete, struggling through that section. So a lot of close scores so far in the women's semi-final route, and you can just see, looking for the method again, it's quite confusing here. I'm not 100% sure, to be honest with you, what the method is. Looks like she wants to go right hand again, that's where we saw, but the left hand goes in that process, and you do wonder, there are holds on that volume, but the volume itself might actually be possible to hold on to, and I think they're kind of getting blinkered a little bit by the actual screw-on holds on the volume rather than and actually using the volume itself, but it's very easy to say that standing here.
Francesco just working his way up on the lower section of this route. You can see above him, that's where the angle changes, that's where it gets steep. Doesn't seem to have troubled many of the climbers. Max in particular looked very relaxed on that section.
So potentially in for another good burn here from Francesco. 9th last time out in Chamonix, so a lot of potential to push for a finals position.
Keep an eye on the top of your screens. You've got the scores coming across. Kichiro Koranaga, who we mentioned, was out first. He still leads away. Max, we've just seen him. Great effort from him. 2nd place. And Loic Timmermans. Will that be enough for a final spot? You fear it might not be, but we shall see. Loic, as I say, already made a final this year.
Starting her campaign down on the right-hand side, then it's Alina Ring. Another great youth career. Let's see what she can do in the senior women's category. And once again, Charlie, we're seeing a lot of the youth come through, especially in the women's.
We are, yeah. We've got some really interesting climbers to watch today. I'm particularly looking forward to seeing Brooke Rabatu, Team USA. Comes from a strong climbing stock. The Rabatu name long and storied in climbing history. And be interested to see how she gets on. Had an excellent qualifiers, as did Margot Hayes, the first woman to climb 9A plus outside. And that's not a correct clip from Francesco. He spots it. There we go.
I think really this is where the route's going to separate the lower athletes from the top athletes here. It's all about this top third. The route really starts here. Sorry, Charlie. The route starts here, and it's all about getting there as fresh as possible.
That was what was so impressive about Max. He got to this stage still looking very calm, and you could see in his face exactly when the effort really kicked in. It was only a move or two before he fell off. What can Francesco do?
And speaking of his face, you can see a good close-up there, blowing the cheeks. He's obviously starting to push now. There we go, Francesco up to the bad pinch. It's the last where we saw the right hand go earlier from the earlier athlete. Needs to make quick moves here, quick thinking. Struggles with the clip a little bit, completely bent right arm. Needs to get the feet high and left. We've seen the earlier athletes using the higher left foot. Just as we saw Alina Ring going early on in the route down on the right hand side. And once again, an athlete drops on the left hand pinch. I don't think he really secured that, so he will be slightly lower on the scoring than someone like Loix and Max. But a pretty good effort, but you can feel with so many athletes getting high up on the wall, it's going to be close to top, so it counts to get you through to tomorrow night's final.
Don't forget, if you want to get in touch, give us your thoughts, ask any questions, hashtag IFSCWC on Twitter. If you're watching lead climbing for the first time, don't forget that the name of the game is to get as high on the wall as you can. It's a relatively simple discipline, it doesn't make it easy.
Here we go then with the current standings. It's Helen Janiko, 29, Julia Fisser, 27 plus, and a couple of climbers on 26 or 26 plus. Team Austria, Swiss and Koreans.
And in the men, it's Kachiro Koronaga leading the way. Max still in second. Francesco, we've just seen him in third place. Remember, if there is a tie, it goes count back to the previous round. So if you're wondering why he is third and Loic Timmermans is fourth, it's count back to the previous round.
And as we said before, we had a lot of problems and we're relying on the countback in Chamonix, so I'm sure the route setters are going to be really trying to avoid a situation like that. And out next, Domen Skofic then, we saw him in the earlier qualifying highlights. Overall winner of the 2016 Lead World Cups. A little bit off form, as Charlie mentioned earlier, so it's going to be really interesting to see how Domen can do tonight. Is he starting his season now? Can he redeem himself? If anybody can, Domen definitely can, and he's an absolutely fantastic athlete. So I really want to see Domen back on form. Starting her campaign on the green route on the right hand side, then it's Victoria Meshkova from Russia. Victoria actually second in the European youth competitions in Edinburgh 2015. 9th in the Youth World Championships 2017, so another young climber, as we mentioned earlier, coming through into the seniors. Actually had the same score on both her qualifying routes, 37 plus. As we look at Domen then, just canvassing with style through this lower section. That seems to be the method that a lot of the climbers are using, and that stage in the route there will be so fresh, and just canvassing like that would be an absolute breeze for these guys, but they've got to kind of do it still with efficiency. As these next sections, you can see how bad these holds are. Really, really small crimps at the start of the men's route, and really kind of gets the resistance building in the forearms.
Yeah, Domen, someone said to me today, seems to have lost his mojo slightly, and I know exactly what they mean. He's not quite looked his 2016 best. I don't know if the problem is psychological. Doesn't seem to be physical. He seems to be in great shape. Hasn't been quite a vocal opponent of the new 6-minute rule, and not always been that happy with the setting this year. But for whatever reason, doesn't seem to have quite found his groove this time. But he won here last year in Briancon.
There's so many things that these athletes have got to consider, and if they kind of get tied into the psychology and they're unhappy about new rule changes or whatever it is they may be, that can really affect their climbing no matter how fit they are. But you really hope that Domen's kind of the professional, and he can kind of just take the routes as they are. It's all about competing against the route rather than the time or his other athletes, really. You can only beat the route at the end of the day.
Well, the athletes are very complimentary about the qualifying routes. Feedback seems to be good so far from the athletes we've spoken to about this semi-final route, so you should enjoy the climbing. No issues there. Remember, the climbers have got 6 minutes here, but the speed they're climbing at shouldn't be a problem. Now making his way onto the final few meters of the very steepest section of wall. Last clip before the angle eases. There's the cross through. It's a physical move. You just need to control the feet here. This is where we lost the legs he rubs off. Domen, really nicely done. Just rotates the hips.
Tucks nicely into the hill. That was a really good form here from Domen. Looking so casual at the moment. Just down and right, it's the Russian athlete Victoria. So far so good from her, but it's really hard to tell just from there exactly what she's up against. As we can see what Domen is up against. Small crimps at the top of the wall here in Briancon. Starting to grit the teeth slightly, but this is good work here from Domen. Great angles.
Yeah, this is the section where we can see the climber's face. We can see them starting to fight.
This is what the route setter was talking about. Classic resistance climbing here as Domen goes up. Doesn't get the clip. I think he's going to swap feet and get it off the right hand. That's what we saw the earlier athlete do. So Domen Skofic then. Can we see an early top here in the men's semi-final? Opts for the high left foot. This is it. This is all about the next couple of moves. Good work here from Domen. The elbows up. He's trying so hard. This is great form from Domen Skofic. Oh, and I got to be happy with that. A good climb from Domen takes the applause. As we see Victoria Meshkova on the right, working her way through the snake. This is getting close to a high point on the women's route. Oh, and once again, I kind of spoke a bit too soon there. She looked like she was going quite well, but unfortunately wasn't meant to be, as we have another look back at Domen through this top couple of moves.
Yeah, when he latched that pinch with the right hand, gives you an idea how bad that hold is out to the left, but it looked to me as if he might have it. Let's have another look at it. It looked as if he'd almost resigned himself that might be his last move. He was almost on his way by the time the left hand landed.
I mean, the route setters generally really tried to build the routes towards the end of the line, and they've definitely done it there. And classic technique is putting some wide pinches at the top of the wall, just what you don't need when you get to that stage, nearly 40 moves into the route.
There you get a bit of an idea of the angle of our wall here in Briancon. You can see the quick draws hanging down. Been a wonderful event as ever here. And blessed with good weather. Not always the case in Briancon. As I say, it's sunny 300 days of the year. We always seem to hit one of the rainy days. But as it stands, don't want to curse anything. Looks great.
Have a look then. Two climbers currently tied. Domen actually coming onto the same move, not quite latching that left hand upper pinch as Kochiro Koronaga, leading the way currently with 35 plus.
Here's Hannah Schubert. She was in the commentary box last week. This time out, she's in the semi-final.
So Hannah was quite disappointed to miss out on the finals out in Chamonix, but I'm sure she's been training hard between now and then, so hopefully Hannah can push for a finals position tonight, as we have with us Domen Skofic.
Yeah, Domen, talk us through the route. You looked as if you were enjoying yourself up there.
Oh yeah, I was really surprised because this morning I was so tired. I don't know, like looks like all the comps are coming behind me, or I don't know what was it, but I was like everything was super hard for me. And yeah, this route I was really enjoying. I calmed myself down and I said it was actually one of the first times that I needed to come from like very first climbers. You know, I got nothing to lose, so yeah, I just tried my best, and yeah, I'm happy with my result.
Yeah, it doesn't look as if you've enjoyed this season as much as last season. Do you just need one good day to really start the season?
I don't know, because actually it was so many comps that I had a good day in Villar, but just maybe it was so many comps this year that I just don't have that that excitement in my body anymore, and it feels like I need a short break, but I don't know how it's gonna be in the next comps. We'll see.
We have quite a long break after this competition. What's your plan to try and get your motivation back?
Actually, my plan is to still do Munich for the overall, and after that I'm gonna see, because my shoulder is really injured from Chamonix, and it's still not getting better. And there's also certain things that I have like issues, and I need to work them out.
Okay, well hopefully you can find a week on a beach sometime between now and our
Yeah, that would be perfect actually.
And Domin, just before you go, we're seeing quite a lot of the male athletes getting close to the top of the route here. Early prediction from you, do you think there's going to be any tops?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's going to be a top, because actually only from the pinches on it gets like super intense. And up to here, the route is just like warming you up for the last moves. So
just talk us through these moves if you can. You were the last person on these holes.
I mean, actually, this part is kind of sketchy because you have no feet. You need to get your feet from the right to the left, and you have nothing in between. So if you rush a bit, maybe you can slip or something. But then these holes are actually surprisingly good.
Yeah,
if you get your fingers in,
Jakob Knecht, he's making light work of this at this stage.
But now I would say from here on it starts really hard.
It's a move up with the left.
It's also really hard to clip that draw.
Yeah, I can hear you breathing hard. It sounds like you've had a pretty hard day, but we'll let you go relax.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, Domin.
Great insight to the top section there from Domin Skofic as we look at Hannah Schubert. Are we going to see our first athlete through the snake?
Yeah, that was great, getting Domin Skofic, who'd been on the wall 3 minutes before to do my job for me, describing the top halt. It's about as live as feedback, without putting a microphone on him when he's climbing. That's about as live as it gets, as Hannah just tries to cross through. That section that Jan Sabranaki did identify it as one of the cruxes, and it's proven that way so far. Reading it seems to be the key.
9 climbers out so far, Charlie, and 8 have dropped off the same volume. It's really not what we want to see so far, but Hannah Schubert then, you could see her starting to fight through that section, and really climbers struggling to whether to go, we talked about it earlier, whether to go with the right hand or to cross over with the left hand, and you can see the disappointment on Hannah Schubert's face there. Real shame for her. I think she's going to kind of be kicking herself a little bit.
Yeah, it looks pretty disappointed, and that's a shame because she's been in decent form in 2017. Really happy to make the final in Villars. Was disappointed in Chamonix, and I suspect she might be disappointed again here in Briancon, which is still only young. Remember, she was competing in the Youth World Championships in November. She's got a long career ahead of her.
Yeah, very young, but been competing in the European Championships since 2011, so long in the game at such a young age, and I think that experience shows when she just knows that she could have done better than that realistically, and she knows probably with a lot of really strong climbers still to come, it's probably not going to be enough for this time for Hannah Schubert, as Sean Bailey for Team USA starts his campaign on the left-hand side.
Noël Berthier of France is out as well on the women's, closest to the camera. As I say, women's route on the right, men on the left here in Briancon.
2 20th place finishes so far then for Nolwenn in Villars and Chamonix. Hopefully she can improve on that coming into the Briancon World Cup. Sean Bailey pops up on the right hand side of the screen. Nolwenn starts her campaign. Can we see a climber get through the snakes here on the women's semi-final? Sean Bailey's had kind of a good start for his 2017 campaign. Made the finals back in Villars and 16th in Chamonix, so definitely a climber to watch out for.
Certainly wouldn't be the biggest surprise in the world if he surpassed his qualifying ranking and made it into that top 8. Had a good 2016 as well, breakthrough season for him.
And Charlie, you know these athletes quite well, obviously from Team USA. Do they come over to Europe for a long time between the events, or do they head back to the States each time?
Generally they tend to stay out for the summer, from the ones I've chatted to. I know last year Sean did a long road trip combining World Cups with a bit of training at some of the facility we have in Europe. Also climbing outdoors. Of course he climbed Chris Sharma's iconic route, Biography, Realization at Seyouz. So yeah, they tend to Tend to stay over. It's not a bad place to pass the summer. A couple of World Cups and driving around France and Italy. It's certainly worse ways to pass July and August. Keep an eye on top of your screen. You can see that Hannah Schubert, who was very disappointed by the looks of things, in 4th place. Remember, 8 climbers progressing to the final.
Here we go. This is the committing move early on in the route, the start of the resistance, and Nolwenn has no issues through there so far. Consistently 20th through this season so far. Really hopes you can improve on that. Takes a moment. It's a hard move to get to that hole, but once you get it, you can take a breather, take a moment, have a look through this next section. But probably realistically from there, you can't really see the crux as it is so far. The snake section is a good 5 or 6 moves above her. Sean Bailey on the bottom right of your screen, looking good now, flowing nicely.
Yeah, no one in the centre of the screen, climbing relatively slowly. Interesting whether that pays off. We know that you need to save some energy for what's becoming known as the snake section. But you don't want to save too much energy by climbing slowly, because you are now on extremely overhanging terrain. It's a fine balance, trying to find that speed but also conserving the energy.
Nolwenn just lost her feet there but recovered nicely and kind of reading this section well so far. Lots of heel hooks, taking the weight off the arms. You can see the weight is definitely on the arms on the bottom right of the screen. It's Sean Bailey heading into the head wall.
Yeah, interested to hear Domin say he thinks we can see a top here in Briancon. Sean looking solid so far. Now he's got this really hard physical move up with the left, makes it stick. He'll cross through with the right hand.
This is a good fight from Sean Bailey here. Is this going to be our first top? This is where we lost 2 previous climbers. Sticks it nicely. 2 more moves then for Sean Bailey. Come on. Off the penultimate pinch, and you kind of got 2 or 3 holds there, all exactly the same. And like we said before, really not what you need at that stage in the game, but a really good fight then from Sean Bailey and putting himself into a potential finals position. Time will tell, with a lot of very strong climbers still to come.
Let's have another look at Sean Bailey. There we go, so he nails that move with the left hand.
That's where we lost Gachero. And that right hand, he's actually got it right in the centre, and I believe that's the sweet spot on that hold. You can see where the chalk build-up is, and that's kind of where you want it. As we have a look then at Mathilde. Nolwenn, excuse me. Nolwenn through this crux section then. Looked like she's opting for the crossover. This is a big move. Oh, nails it. This is good work.
It's just trying to get something out of those feet.
Oh, no.
As soon as they cut off the wall, it looks as if you're done for.
Well, I think what happens is they get so stretched through the upper body with the large crossover with the left hand. If their feet come off, they basically rotate and kind of corkscrew themselves straight off the wall. There's absolutely no way you're going to hold that twist whilst holding on to such bad holds.
Let's have another look at this.
So you can see she's really stretched across the upper body. The right arm goes to complete extension, which means she loses the screw on. The fingers open up, and fingers open up, feet go, you're out of there.
This is Hanwol Kim of Korea. Climbs with glasses on, very unusual to see that. And he's just got his individual observation time. Remember, the athletes have an observation. That was before we came on orbit, joint observation. All the men observe the route, and then all the women observe their route. They have 6 minutes to do that, but they also have an individual observation time.
Yeah, just 40 seconds, I believe, just to kind of remember the route. To make it fair for all the athletes throughout the competition. Obviously, this semi-final goes on for nearly two hours. As the Norwegian really strong showing last time in Chamonix, Tina Jonsson Hafsars, kind of really disappointed with one of her qualifying routes early, but did really well on the other. Topped one route and then just a score of 16 plus, but managed to scrape through after such a good result on the second route.
Et peut-être un jour, on espère pour les 30 ans, pourquoi pas une alliance entre les 2 événements pour nous sortir un beau combiné.
So both climbers setting off almost in unison. And so far in this men's route, not been too many issues with the lower section, the bottom 2/3 of the route really, and then it just seems move on move, it gets harder and harder. We've just seen amazing effort from Sean Bailey. Enough to give him the lead, 36 plus.
Just concentrating on Tina then from Norway. See a big break in her competitive career, and to come back and get a 4th place out in Chamonix was excellent. So hopefully we might see some of the female athletes getting through this snake section. We've seen all of them basically dropping there so far, so I really hope that we can start seeing some progress and start seeing the top of the wall. I don't think the route setters will be nervous just yet.
No, remember, we're not even halfway through this semi-final, 26 men, 26 women. There will be a cleaning break in the middle of the semi-final. That's where the route setters climb the route and must submit whilst pulling on the quick draws. It's not the cleanest ascent, and give the route a clean in an effort to try and ensure that conditions are at least as close as they can be for all the athletes. So this is the first tricky move. You can see just about sticks it, but it's just putting a bit of doubt in the climber's mind, that first move.
Yeah, it's kind of that early move to get the nervous climbers kind of just challenged a little bit. You can see Tina, slight hesitation, but overall no problems. See in the bottom right of the screen, Hanwol Kim, no issues up to this point. As the wind starts to pick up, blowing across the square here in Briancon, temperature just dropping nicely. Beers are flowing around the arena here. It's a really good scene, really big crowd already.
Yeah, we're generally absolutely packed for the final, and couldn't quite believe my eyes when I looked up for the first time in a while. The square is virtually full for the semi-finals, as well as Tina just about makes it stick with the hands only.
Oh, trouble with the rope under the arm, and we lose Tina Johnson-Hafsas. She's going to be really disappointed with that. She had kind of really mixed qualifiers, and now a pretty poor semi-finals. It doesn't look like we're going to be seeing Tina later on in the competition. A real shame for her, but yeah, live to fight another day. Let's have a look then what happened. See the rope just wrapped around the right arm, kind of over the top of the arm, and she needed to go up with the right hand, and that caused her a lot of problems.
Yeah, it didn't look as if it was going to be a problem, but she just needed to, she just tried to take the arm straight up instead of bringing it around the rope, and it just cost her. Hanwol Kim, meanwhile, really into the meat of this route. That's the final clip. Right pinch. Now it's just physical, controlling with the left hand.
I was just about to say Hanwol looking really solid, but then all of a sudden the right foot blew, and it shows how minimal the footholds here, minimal contact on the wall, and it was a good burn, but with so many climbers getting to such a high point, probably not going to be enough.
Let's have a updated results for you. As we see Hanwol Kim's rope, we see there Helen Janiko. She was out early and she still leads the way. Tina Johnson-Hafsas, who we've just seen in 9th place. Remember, 8 climbers through to the final, so even if the semi ended, unfortunately, Tina will not be there. In the men's competition, meanwhile, Sean Bailey, 36 plus, had his hand on the second to last hold. Domen Skofrich was in the commentary box earlier and predicted we would see a top. It looks like he could well be right. Domen currently sits in 2nd place. And out onto the stage, Eloise Dumont of Belgium. And then we will see Elan Jonas-McRae of Canada in the men's competition. Quick question actually, Mike. You're probably in a good position to answer this. From Twitter, Pask wants to know, are route setters all men or are there women setters too? How do they set routes differently for men and women? Good question.
Yeah, great question, and it's something the route setting industry does actually struggle with quite a lot, because there's a lot of talented female athletes, a lot of oh god, you really put me on the spot, because this is a really tricky subject. Because basically in the route setting game we would love to see a lot more female route setters. The industry is completely dominated by men. That's not to say that there is talented females out there certainly is, but the numbers are quite limited, and you know, across the industry we know it's an issue. You know, we'd love to see more ladies getting involved, so if you're out there, you're keen on route setting as a female, go to your local climbing wall, express your interest. It's not just a men's show. You're just as capable as the men to get involved in the route setting game, and we'd love to. And as for the kind of the styles, I would say it doesn't matter if you're a man or a woman. The style of the route setting is the style. It doesn't, you know, you don't set for a particular style for a particular gender. Because you're a female doesn't mean you're going to set female moves. One of the well-known climbers in the UK, Leah Crane, also sets a lot. She's known for setting big dynamic moves, and she's a female. So it's not as if we need females to set female routes, but it would really be nice to get some more ladies on the team.
Mike is, of course, very high up in the management of the Castle Climbing Wall in London, and you have a female setter there.
Yep, one of the route setting managers, Cornelia Howick, Cornelia Langley. Oh, excuse me, God, that's a faux pas, my wife. Never going to let that one down. But it's something that we've talked about a lot over the years, the females in the roots end game. It's something that we've been trying to tackle recently, and I really hope it can improve in the future. And I would love to see more women root setting at the castle.
Mike Langley, who's now going to have to go back to the hotel and explain to his wife that he got her name wrong. It'll be an interesting conversation.
To be fair, she's not changed it on her passport, and we are abroad.
It's not official till the passport's changed. So, Eloise, done that first tricky move, the one that we've seemed to think just there to introduce a bit of doubt. She's got it done, no problem. Just trying to figure out how to use the feet, and this is such a steep section of wall that you just haven't got long to figure it out, and you can see already it's starting to take its toll, trying to work out how to get that right hand up. This is all energy that she can't get back. It's very hard to rest from here on out.
She was really struggling with feet there, and what she went up to with the right hand, she had to get it right because it's so close to the wall, that hold. It's effectively blocked and requires a lot of precision.
Seems to have got a bit of energy back. You can't recover as such. You might be able to just plateau and just take a second to get your breath back, but you certainly won't be recovering. Any energy you use, you cannot get back on this route. It is so steep, and you can see just at the top of your screen, that is what we're calling the snake hold. That's the key traverse we've seen so many climbers fall.
Oh, once again.
Tried to go directly onto it.
Yeah, we actually saw her drop slightly earlier on in that snake feature. Still not seeing any progress really on this women's route.
Let's have another look. So she goes up direct with the right hand, sets it. You could tell she was just running out of energy. The feet were swinging about a bit, went for the slap, and actually was just above it, but by the time she dropped onto it, momentum was already taking her off the wall.
Yeah, you can see disappointed, and rightly so. It's kind of like you say, she hit that hole, but she almost went over the back of it, and the momentum she was going meant she couldn't latch it. It is kind of upside down from, it's the bad way up rather than the good way up, and yeah.
Hopefully we can see a replay of Elam. We just you can see the quick draw swaying. I don't know if that was the last quick draw he clipped or if that's the wind doing its thing.
I'd definitely say the breeze is picking up here, so the conditions potentially improving as long as the wind doesn't blow them off the kind of micro holds that we're seeing throughout this route. Especially at the bottom, minute crimps, and the wind sometimes can be a bit off-putting, but here we go then with a replay of Elan. Struggled, yeah, I mean realistically he needed that clip early, and I kind of went for the powerful crossover, but had run out of beans at that point.
So we're on to our 13th climber in the men's and the women's competition. It will be all Japan for the 13th. Naoki Shimatani, there he is. We'll be joined by Risa Ota on the stage. After the 13th climber there will be a cleaning break. The route setters will clean the routes. And then it's the top half of the semi-final. The climbers, of course, in reverse order from how they qualified. As we watch Risa just going through her 40-second individual observation time. Naoki's already on his way. Just run you through who we'll be seeing a bit later on in the women's competition. Your last 6 climbers out. How does this sound? Jessie Pilz, Julia Shanodi, Mina Markovic, Jane Kim, Anak Verhoeven and Janja Garnbret. They will be your last 6 out.
Just to come in there, Charlie, the top 6, the last 6 coming out, actually they're all the world ranked top 6, and they managed to come top 6 from the qualifiers, so on form in the women's category, like I say, with the big 4 coming out as well.
Yeah, it's been interesting. It does seem like those 4 are slightly out there, but Julia Shanodi, a bronze in the World Games last week. She really seems to be hot on their heels. Ditto Jessie Pilz. They certainly don't have a stranglehold on these IFSC World Cups. It's, I'd say, the big 4 very, very closely followed by a few more who could well join them, make it a big 5, big 6. So all Japan, we're used to saying that in the bouldering competitions. As I say, less so in the lead. We don't have Kokoro Fuji here this time out, who we've seen doing extremely well in Bouldering World Cups, won our first event in Meiringen back in April. he's not here in Briancon.
It's one of the things we were talking with Hannah Schubert, if you saw the stream out in Chamonix, was actually how she feels Team Japan is going to develop in the leading. They're obviously, like you say, dominating in the bouldering, but she thinks with their team set up, with the potential heading to Tokyo for the 2020 Olympics, she can only see Team Japan kind of starting to really push for more positions in semi-finals and finals in the lead as well. Naoki then looking good for Team Japan. Opting for the back three fingers there, you can see out of 4. Also saw that earlier in some of the earlier athletes, and this is where we saw Elan go just on this crossover. Big powerful crossover here, gets the clip, puts himself in a good position but stumbles with it slightly.
Keep an eye bottom right of your screen, Risa Ota. I've been watching her, she doesn't look as if she's especially relishing this move. There she goes, find a nice comfortable position to do it. She was just stalling there, just couldn't quite figure out. Bear in mind these climbers started not too far apart in terms of time, and Naoki already through the steepest part of the wall, and Risa Ota still just beginning it. She didn't look as if she liked that move at all, but as I say, took her time, positioned the feet nicely, found her way through it. And Naoki, the feet cut off, he stays on, there are tiny holds he's on, and it's a steep section of wall.
Can we see someone push for a top here then in the men's semi-finals in Chamonix? Let's call it Chamonix. Here we are in Briancon. It's another amazing alpine town. This is good work from the Japanese athlete. Come on, Naoki. Into the top few pinches. Here we go. Struggling a little bit. Sticks it. Oh! I mean, there was a high chance he was going to come off there, but he stuck it for a few milliseconds, and I thought it might have been just enough to reel it back in, but it wasn't meant to be, and another good burn. But we're seeing a lot of climbers in this top section now. It's really going to be a top or very close to a top that's going to make it through to the finals tomorrow night.
Yes, same move where we saw Domen Skofic fall. That's half the climbers done now in the men's semi-final. Risa Ota has the stage to herself. As I say, not quite a capacity crowd here in Briancon, but by the standards of semi-finals, an absolutely enormous one. It's only 11,000 people live in Briancon. I'm told we can expect 8,000 for the final.
So the whole family comes out for a picnic in a World Cup finals. That's brilliant.
If you're in the region and thinking about coming along tomorrow, I advise getting here early. It's seating near the front. If you're near the back, you need to stand. Bring your camping chair as well. That's my top tip. You might not win any friends for the people sitting behind you, but you'll have a comfortable evening. So Risa, heading for the snake.
Actually really slow up to this point, so time limit being 6 minutes might become a factor if she does actually get through this next feature. Really stalling out through this bottom section, but actually looking quite composed and solid. But here we go then. This is where we've seen everybody bar one drop. Come on, Risa. Goes for the big crossover with the left arm. This is looking really good. Potentially one of the slightly taller climbers, having no issues there, actually finding a section to drop back down with the right hand, using the feature well. Helen Janiko got through this section nicely, and she's actually got thumb catches under that volume, but hard to know the exact sequence here. Opts for the left foot through there. This is going to be tough now. As you can see, she's looking to use the undercut screw-ons.
Looking very composed. You can see the right leg just quivering with the effort of keeping that foot on. Now she needs to find a way to get off the snake and onto the next hole, and that was close from Risa Ota.
So the route setters have blocked the end of that volume. There is a good bit in it there, but there's no way they're going to be holding on to it, and she had the right method there, but I think route reading with some of the route setters earlier actually need to have a look at flipping those undercuts from thumb catches into a left-hand undercut to give you the height to go up with the right hand. Just using the feature for your fingers there is going to be really hard to gain the momentum and gain the purchase to be able to head up that high. You can see what she's heading up to. That's the next hold after the one she was going through the right hand. That's what she crosses through to the left hand. You can see the number of markings on the wall there, the volumes used through the different rounds, and the route setters said that they set these a couple of weeks ago, marked them up and hid them in a locker with lots of bolts on them.
There's the men's semi-final results as things stand. Sean Bailey leading the way, 36 plus, only a plus ahead of Naoki Shimatani. Domen Skofic, who we chatted to earlier, is down in third. Kichiro Koranaga fourth. Max Rudiger in fifth. Hamel Kim, Francesco Veterato and Loic Timmermans, your current top 8. However, 13 climbers still to go. Alexei Rubtsov, 10th place. Enjoyed watching him in the lead climbing. And you can see who is still to come. Martin Teklers, Marcello Bombardi, last week's winner, Hannes Poom and Sam Avazu, another climber from strong climbing stock, Christoph Hanke. Already made a final in Vila this year. James Pope of Great Britain, he'll be out 20th, had an excellent qualifier.
Plenty of big names out so far, and into the women's, it's Helen Janiko currently leading the way. She actually came out second, qualified in 25th with a score of 29. Nice results so far through the top section. Victoria Meshkova, 28 from Russia, and Yulia Fischer, 27 plus. Nolan Berthier, 27. Hannah Schubert, again, we mentioned her, disappointed with 26 plus. So we have a look right down the list, and Alina Ring currently sitting 11th, 15th plus, and Miseon Kim from Team Korea also with 15 plus.
It'd be good if we could go and see the top half of that scoreboard again, because Reese Rota's score updated just as we were looking at it. So hopefully we'll see what her updated score was. Confirm that for you.
You can see the top quick draw then, that is the finish lower off, and you can see it just moving slightly in the breeze here. The wind seems to be going up and down a little bit.
And I believe we've got the women's results for you, and there we have it. Risa Rota, I wanted to see what her updated score was. She's been given 29 plus, enough for an early lead. Could well be enough for a final, we shall see.
Yeah, well, halfway through the semi-finals here. The routes are in their cleaning rotation, so we just take a few minutes for the route setters to blast their way up the wall. You can see Yan Jinu, one of the route setters on the men's route on the left, and putting in a good shift, blasting his way through the section, pulling on the quick draws, getting the holds in as best condition as possible. And we can now bring you the world rankings.
They're already 2 World Cups in. This is number 3. Janja Garnbret currently leads the way, 200, a clean sweep. Jane Kim and Anna Verhoeven and Mina Markovic at the top 4, as I mentioned, hot on their heels. And you can see just 4 ranking points behind is Jessie Pilz and Julia Shanodi, fresh from a bronze medal in the World Games in Poland, a bit lower down the order, and Sophie Koller. Hannah Schubert, Evgenia Kazbekova and Mathilde Becerra making up the rest of the top 10. Mathilde Becerra, pretty disastrous qualifiers for her, won't climb this evening here in Briançon.
Into the men's category, it's the Frenchman Ramon de Grange leading the way. 155, couple of good results for him, and he was one of the many competitors to top the route out in Chamonix. I think it was 4 tops we had in Chamonix. Marcello Bombardi ended up winning the competition based on speed of his ascent of the finals route. Yuki Hada then 3rd position, 116. Koichiro Koronaga, who scraped into tonight's semi-final in 26, currently 4th. Dortmund Skopich, who we had a great interview with earlier, coming out in 5th. So he says he's having a bad season, but 5th in the overall World Cup standing is not bad at all. Jan Hoyer, one of the first major boulderers on the list, currently in 6th. Jan not anywhere near making the semi-finals here tonight in Briançon, so maybe Jan will stick to his bouldering. Time will tell.
Well, 4th place in Vila is unbelievable from Jan, but he doesn't put much pressure on himself in the lead climbing. Whatever he gets is a bonus, and as I say, that is the scene in Briançon. The crowd looking a lot more dispersed all of a sudden. And there's Mike and I back on screen. We've had quite a busy commentary box. Mike, you enjoyed talking to Domin Skopich. What were your impressions of him? He seems like he's slightly lost his mojo.
Well, I think it's so tough for these athletes to... I mean, they're so young, many of them, but they've been competing for year on year, and there's always pressure from themselves as well as the team manager and, you know, the fans, just to keep coming back year on year and just competing and getting good results. I mean, there's so much travelling involved, as Domin said. He's travelling around the world constantly. You know, just to look at the kind of the calendar this month, it's so packed, and just to be able to be that consistent, I think it's really tough.
Yeah, bear in mind, of course, that Domin also did the bouldering. So we had 3 weeks in Asia. We were in China for 2 weeks. We went to Japan. We've been to Mumbai. We've been to Vail. He's been all over the world. And we're only at the end of July, but hopefully today could be the day. But as I say, he may need a bit of a rest. He said he just needs a bit of time off, possible shoulder injury. Elsewhere, we're looking down at who's still to come. Few interesting climbers. Sam Avazu, I'm particularly looking forward to seeing Jim Pope. He's a man you know well.
Yeah, Jim, obviously, he'll be so happy to get that position in the qualifying round. Jim's a young lad from London, climbs at the Castle Climbing Centre where I work, and Stronghold Centre around the corner. And Jim's one of those athletes, he's extremely strong. but has not done kind of that well on the senior competitions yet. He's actually won a Junior World Cup in lead. He's a real kind of lead specialist, but he did make it through to the bouldering competition in Britain. He made the British Championships, he made the finals there, so he'll be heading into the Munich World Cup as well. So psyched for Jim. He's just recently come from Seyouz. He's out there on a road trip through this summer before he goes to university, and obviously try not to be too biased, but really happy for Jim and Molly Thompson-Smith also from Team GB. But that's not to say they're not going to be up against it. Looking at the men's category then, like you said, the top competitors, Ramon de Garange, Sebastian Helenke, Sean McCall, Stefano Gasoffi, all these guys, like, they just won so many World Cups between them. It's so impressive.
This is Mateusz Schiestel earlier on. This was a cross-through move where he fell, just went through with the right hand. It's such a powerful move.
Loic Timmermans then, this is him on the top section. A good burn from Loic. Currently sitting quite high up on the leaderboard, and as we have a look at one of our boulders there, you can see great grimace on the face there as his foot cut. Went to go and get the left foot on, but couldn't find it. Real shame for him. This is the sequence on the women's end. We want to see people getting through.
Yeah, Julia Fischer there just trying to figure out that crossroad. We're seeing an increasing amount of falls there. Here's a compatriot, Max, very composed up to this stage, and the grimace just a second before he fell. The men's route, has been cleaned. I'm just looking, so is the women's. I believe we can get underway again very shortly. This was Domen Skofic. Mentioned him earlier, just having a slight burnout this season and a shoulder injury, a few things adding up. He seems like a man that could probably do with a week on a beach somewhere.
As we have a look at Hannah Schubert falling off there, Charlie, I want to ask you, with Julia Janodihi, Mina Markovic, Jane Kim coming, Anek Verhoeven, Janja Garnbret, can we see people getting through this category, and can we see anybody challenging Janja Garnbret for a top spot?
I think we can, yeah. I think, as you mentioned, the top 6 in the world rankings are the top 6 in this evening's semi-final, and I think any of them could spring a surprise. Not that it would be a huge surprise, but the form Janja's been in, she'll take some beating, but I think any of that top 6 can do it. I think if it was someone from lower down the order, it would be more of a surprise. I think it will be one of those 6 who takes the title here in Briancon. But you never know. Marcello Bombardi, a bolter last time out in Chamonix, came not quite from nowhere. He's a very experienced climber, but made his first final and then won his first World Cup. So we could see it, but I think in the women's competition it will be one of those top 6.
I mean, if we reflect on the last competition, it was actually at the World Games in Poland. It was actually Anek Verhoeven who took away the win. Admittedly, the finals route ended up going to count back from the qualifiers. There was no semi-final in that competition, but it does prove that someone other than Janja can stand on the top step of the podium.
Yeah, and Anek, of course, was crowned European champion earlier this year, also beating Janja. She beat Janja in a couple of World Cups last year, including the last one in Kranz, so she can definitely do it. As I say, it's hard to look beyond that top 6, but if there's anything we learned from Chamonix and Marcello Bombardi, it's don't bet against anyone. And amazing what it's done to his confidence. At the start of the programme, we showed you the qualifying highlights when I chatted to him, and he's suddenly a guy that feels like he should be making finals, he should be making podiums, and it's amazing what it does to people's confidence and people's mindset when they get that breakthrough result, and suddenly they go from wanting to make a final to feeling like they should. And we could see that again here in Briancon.
Yeah, it really shows that climbing is just such a varied and interesting game. It's not just about how strong you are, how many pull-ups you can do. It's just so many variants.
Martin Tekler's Germany. They've had a decent 2017 in the lead so far. And he's out. The women's route, as I say, has been cleaned. And it will be Vita Lucan who climbs on it next. Not quite sure what the delay is. Here she is. Makes her way onto the stage. Just a couple of minutes behind Martin. Martin Teklers and Vita Lucan. So we're now into the top half of this semi-final. These are the climbers that qualified anywhere between 1st and 13th this morning. Remember, the climbers have already done 2 routes this morning, and you had to get higher than, particularly in the women's.
Well, I'll just come in there, Charlie. Just speaking of the women's route in qualifiers, one of the routes, actually the second route, saw 15 tops, and Vita Lucan was one of those athletes to find a top. So 15 tops on route 2 and only 4 tops on route number 1. So quite a few tops this morning in the women's route, but overall I'd say the organisers of the route says were pretty happy. Not so many tops as we saw in Chamonix, obviously. I don't think that's really ever going to happen again, or ever happened before. So route setters back on form, obviously a slightly different team here in Briancon, but they would have learned from the mistakes in Chamonix from the other guys out there.
I think the one thing they will want to see is one of the women get through this snake section. I think they'll be slightly anxious watching this. They'll want one of them to figure it out soon, because we're now into the second half of this semi-final. If someone doesn't get their head around it very quickly, they may be getting slightly nervous that they've created a stopper move. But Risa Rota, just before the cleaning break, looked very promising and perhaps slightly misread the move off it at the end.
Yeah, I think going by Risa Rota's form on that burn, I'm pretty sure we're going to see people heading through that section. We really do hope so. Martin Tekler's then firing up, showing a lot of power, the big German, through this section. We've seen a few athletes dropping through here, and there's a bit of a problem here. He needs to get the clip. And just about to say he needs to get the clip, but he looked like he was in a bit of a spot above her.
Just like we saw with Elan shortly before the cleaning break. He's just trying to figure out, while simultaneously being absolutely pumped out of your brain. It's very, very tricky indeed. Vita Lucan, meanwhile, incredibly strong 18-year-old climber. No problem at all with that first tricky move onto the triangular volume. She's now onto the very steepest terrain of the wall here in Briancon.
Yeah, she actually took away the win in the European Championships in the lead in 2017. You can see that confidence oozing from her as she climbs, just kind of in that kind of Yanya style, kind of swinging the arms, just taking it in a very smooth and positive manner. Really no hesitation.
If you've just been grabbing a beer during the cleaning break and you join us again, we are live in Briancon. Large crowd here, several thousand people watching live, and we are on our 14th climber of 26 in the women's competition. We are about to see our 15th in the men's competition, and it will be Marcello Bombardi who won last time out in Chamonix.
So can we start to see a top in the men's route? Time will tell as we look then at Vita Lucan. Really want to see someone go through this kind of section in a slightly few more moves time, but Vita struggling a little bit with this section, not quite sure where to grab that. Goes for the sort of wrist wrap with the left hand on the underside of that volume. 100% sure what they've got on offer under there. It is actually, I just looked to my right, it is actually just the volume itself. Just footholds on the top of that then, as Marcello starts his campaign on the bottom right of your screen. Vita Lucan then, just 2 more setup moves before heading into the crux section.
Just got to try and save what energy she can, but this is when it really starts to get physical. What method will she use? She leads with the right hand, just trying to get settled on it. Flexibility showing there as she uses the heel hook, but you can see her hair bobbing around in the wind and showing her effort. How to keep the feet on here seems to be one of the cruxes. How to get something out of those feet so you don't have to hang on your arms on these terrible bolt-on holds.
The first climb we were seeing then actually roll over with the left hand using only the feature itself. This is good work from Vita. She's looking really strong, but she's really starting to feel the pressure through this bit now.
The elbows are out, and she just, that move right proves one move too far.
That's a real shame, and once again we see a climber drop through the snake volume.
It's becoming infamous, that volume. Let's have another look at it. So she climbed it really nicely up to here.
You can see the elbows raised there, Charlie, just as you can. That's a sure sign of kind of troubles to come. And yeah, she was looking so fresh up to that point. I was quite surprised she kind of really stalled out. Just shows you how hard that section is.
So Marcello Bombardi topped the route in the finals in Chamonix in front of 12,000 people in the Place du Mont Blanc. Quite the experience. And said the last 2 weeks have been pretty crazy for him. Suddenly everyone wants a piece of him, signing autographs, giving interviews. It's changed his life, albeit temporarily.
Oh, hopefully it won't be too temporary. Let's see if he can make progress again here in Briancon and push for a finals place. He's a real crowd favourite, so it'd be great to see him in the finals. Got a lot of work ahead of him to get there.
Yeah, I gave him a big shout out on the live stream last time out in Chamonix 2 weeks ago, but just to repeat, what was absolutely extraordinary about him, one of the most impressive pieces of sportsmanship I've ever seen, is when his compatriot Stefano Ghisolfi was climbing, if Stefano had topped the route, he would have taken the win away from Marcello, and Marcello was screaming himself hoarse, screaming at Stefano encouragement, and amazing sportsmanship. And I think everybody that witnessed it was doubly pleased with Marcello, because there was no part of him that was kind of hoping Stefano might fall. He was giving it absolutely everything, cheering him on. It was great to see. And won a lot of friends that evening by doing that.
He's giving it everything in the climbing department right now. This is a good burn from Marcello. Looking pretty composed, but he saw in a slightly earlier shot. He's starting to grit the teeth. Here we go. Biting the lips. Marcello Bombardi. Domen Skovic thinks these are good holds. They're not, in many people's books, they're not good holds, but Marcello seems to be having no problems with them. Gets the last quick draw.
If he clips another quick draw, it will be the top. He's looking solid up to here. This is a physical move with the left hand, though. Just needs to get the left foot sorted.
Looking solid.
Makes it stick. He'll cross through with the right hand. You can see the effort showing. Again, he goes for another big physical move with the left, and again he makes it stick. He's now 2 holes from the top, and that is the second to last hole. That's exactly where we saw Sean Bailey go. That will be Marcello in the lead. Count back to the previous round will put him ahead of Sean. He'll be in first place.
Let's have another look then. You look really solid up to this point, but it just shows how bad those holds are. Left hand, overshot it slightly, dragged down onto it, really front on at this stage. Oh, just fired up for the left hand. Like you said, that's where we lost Sean Bailey. We lose Marcello Bombardi, and Charlie, with so many climbers still to come and so many strong athletes, you're starting to worry for these guys. They got really high, but is it going to be enough?
I suspect for Sean and Marcello it may well be, but we shall see. Gets very clogged suddenly towards the top of the men's semi-final and the women's as well, as Margot Hayes sticks the jump up and left. She enjoyed climbing on the qualifiers, particularly that first route. You might have seen it on our highlights with the enormous 3D volumes. Really enjoyed her morning. First woman to climb 9A plus outside.
It's great to see Margot challenge herself on the outdoors and then coming into the competition scene. And the crowd, actually, I think she's quite famous around these parts, really, obviously, from many of her achievements. And when she stuck that jump where she's got her right heel on now, the crowd really raised for her. So I'm really looking forward to seeing her on this snake volume. And if she can get through that, I think that, you know, if there was a roof, it would definitely be raised here in Briancon.
Should be followed out later on by Rabatou, still to come. Keep an eye, top of your screen, I said it there, Marcello Bombardi takes the lead on the same score as Sean Bailey. Count back doing enough to give him an early lead. Naoki Shimatani just one move lower down. Remember the name of the game, as I said earlier in league climbing, get as high as you can. The holds are numbered, they're not visibly numbered, but the route setters have created a route map for the judges, and it's about getting to the highest hold you can. So that's the score that you can see on the top of your screen. If your score is 36, you got to the 36th hold.
Here we go then with Margot Hayes through this next section. This is where we lost to Vita Lucan in 2 more moves time. It looked like Margot was going to use the same technique. Now she's having a look at other methods. Margot having a bit of a problem here, stalling out as we've seen with pretty much everybody else. Margot's got a bit of a problem. Come on, Margot, keep fighting. She goes for the big cross. Oh, skin of her teeth there. Catches it on the minimalist amount of tips of her fingers. She drops in a knee bar. Finds a little bit of composure. This is good for Margot now.
Extraordinary place to clip from. Such a physical position. You can see a left leg, the hamstring fighting to keep the foot on, left arm fighting to keep her hand on. Somehow manages to clip with a spare hand. Extraordinary stuff. Margot Hayes looking very composed here, but this will be taking it out of her.
It's quite interesting there. She swapped feet and flipped into the right knee bar as opposed to the left. Kind of quite an inverted rest position. This is really impressive from Margot. Can she get anything back here? I mean, as a 9A plus climber outdoors, you've got to think her fitness is going to be second to none. She really needs that recovery now.
This is really impressive. We've seen a lot of the women really struggling on these moves, and Margot's seemed to manufacture something of a rest. A rest might be slightly too generous, but she's getting something out of that right knee, and where she's got her right knee, that part of the hold isn't far off vertical. I'm not quite sure how she's keeping it pressed on there, but she's getting something out of it.
She can see her swaps her feet back there and drops back into the left knee. Was the recovery enough then for Margot Hayes? She needs to get, goes to the end of the volume. That's where it's blocked. Has a quick look. She goes into left hand. This is where she's either going to go up or flip it. Oh yes, first climber then. Margot Hayes gets through the snake section, and the crowd really did lift for her. This is great work. Can we see her start to make an impression on the top of the route then?
Yeah, we've been talking about that, waiting for one of the women to find their way through those moves, and she did it. Really intelligent climbing. Be interesting if we could. I'm trying to look around the venue for the clock. They don't tend to show them during the semi-finals. You wonder if time might be an issue. Meanwhile, Margot Hayes, this is the first time we've been able to see these moves. This is where the angle of the wall changes. She's onto the head wall once she gets above these holes. That bolt that she's just clipped the quick draw from is on the lower angle section of wall. She really is into the last section of this route, but there's a lot of moves to go.
So Margot using her flexibility to maximum use there. This is a really good burn here from Margot Hayes from Team USA. Once again manufacturing a rest where there really shouldn't be one. This is great work from Margot. The crowd's really appreciating this.
Hannes Puma, meanwhile, of Team Sweden, he's out on the men's route. Keep an eye, bottom right. He's done that move that we've seen a couple of climbers struggle on. He's heading towards the head wall as well, as is Margot Hayes. She's the first woman to get this far. She will take a very, very healthy lead at this stage.
She's obviously confident because she's gone from the high quick draw from low. She's got that in the bag. That puts her into a really good position to fire through this top section. Struggling a little bit. You can see her start to, just about to say, you can see her start to shudder a little bit under the strain, but she looks disappointed, but I think when she realises the results of the other competitors, she's going to be pretty happy with that. Margot Hayes sets a really impressive high point then, as we have a look at Hans Puman from Team Sweden, also going well. Competition really starting to get lively now.
So Hannes Puman has got the first move through to the left hand and just hesitated heading up for that huge pinch. Just didn't quite like the look of that one.
Yeah, Hannes Puman then sort of went for a hold where there wasn't really one on offer. And it was a good burn though, but once again we're seeing climbers falling at very similar points on the men's route, high up on the wall.
Yeah, he just needs to, you got to cross through quickly with that right hand onto the pinch, and it looked like he just wanted a move on the way to the pinch.
That was actually a great shot there. Just see the climber dropping out the frame with the mountains in the background. There's great scenes here in Briancon.
So Risa Ota, she will now be in second. Everyone will get shunted down once Margot Hayes' score updates, and there it is. 37 for her. Helen Janico, 29.5 plus. We'll try and investigate that because Risa Ota was in the lead previously. Margot Hayes definitely leading the way now though. There's Molly Thompson-Smith, Team GB.
The current British lead climbing champion then. First in a European youth competition in IMS 2014, really breaking into the seniors now. So what can the Londoner do? Great qualifiers from her. Had a quick chat with her earlier. She was actually obviously very happy to qualify so high up, but actually disappointed that she fell off the route. So a true competitor and a true climber. Really excited to see Molly out here.
Climbing quickly through these lower moves. Second quick draw clipped, and she'll soon head up to that first tricky, committing, doubt-inducing move.
Joining Molly on the wall is going to be Sam Avazou from Team France. So we concentrate on Molly Thompson-Smith then. Molly's actually taken quite a big break from climbing just recently. Travelled around the world, did a few routes outside. Seems to have done her no harm whatsoever and has come back really on form. So Margot actually has, Molly has a hard act to follow after Margot Hayes, who we will be hearing from very shortly. Molly Thompson-Smith would have heard the crowd response to Margot's climbing. Really impressive.
And Margot Hayes is here. Margot, we've just seen you on the route. I don't know if you realise you were the first woman to get off that long traverse to the right.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
No, I had no idea.
Yeah, you have a very healthy lead. You were the first person to get clean off that, so every move above that was a move further into the lead.
Well, I felt I had a lot of fun on the route, and I just decided to go climb tonight and put it all out there, so I guess...
It looked as if you really figured out. It looked as if you really figured out how to do those moves right. You were getting a bit of a rest at the start. It looked like you read it perfectly. Did it feel like you got it right?
Maybe. I think it was kind of just trying to trust my body and feel what went and what didn't go. All of us back in ISO, we thought, okay, this semifinal looks a little complicated, but maybe it's one of those routes that when you get on it, your body the brain in your body knows before the brain in your head. So I think that's kind of what the case was here.
And when you fell, was it just a case of fatigue? Had you just given everything already?
Yeah, I was tired. I think I shouldn't have rested as long where I was. I think a little bit of it was kind of calming down mentally. And maybe I should have waited to clip and just kept going. But, you know, I feel like I put it all out there tonight, so.
Well, as I say, I know you didn't realize, but you have a very, very healthy lead, so go relax. You've done an amazing job.
Thank you.
Thanks for talking to us.
Yeah, I'm excited to watch the rest of the girls crush it. So.
Us too.
Yeah.
Thanks for talking to us.
Here we go then, Molly Thompson-Smith from Team GB into this crux section. This is where we saw, as we just heard, Margot Hayes pushing through here and into a healthy lead. Molly looks relatively comfortable through here. Crowd's right behind her as the French athlete on the left, Sam Avezou, doing well, also heading towards a potential top. If the crowd has anything to say, they definitely want to see a top. So Molly Thompson-Smith then, on the bottom right of your screen, drops into a knee bar. It's Sam Avezou. Crowd really enjoying this. Oh! With a number of athletes higher than that, realistically, although the crowd enjoyed it, it's probably not going to be enough. It's Molly Thompson-Smith then, on the bottom right. Into the thumb catches, looking relatively comfortable, but really trying to figure this out. And exactly what Margot Hayes said, is just got to get up there and feel it out, see what the body responds to.
Sam Avezou back on the mats. Youth B lead world champion from Guangzhou in November last year. Let's just have a look at his final move. You could see him fighting, and meanwhile, Molly Thompson-Smith is also off. She lowers off, another victim of those moves rightwards on the snake. And great to hear them from Margot Hayes when I said, you were the first person to get off that. And she said, oh, really?
I would have. It proves the isolation works at least.
Yeah,
she
exactly.
really, she must have been really focused backstage, really try to take out the factor of what went on there. But let's just we'll come back to that as we have a look at Molly Thompson-Smith. Interestingly, went for the cross with the left hand. I think we saw from Margot, she went up with the right, and we saw Riza Ota also trying to go up with the right. Yeah, it's a real shame there from Molly. We could potentially, that far down in the list, qualified in 16th position. We might have seen a bit more from Molly, but live to fight another day.
Salome Roman will be out next, climbing in front of her hometown crowd. Meanwhile, in the men's competition, Christoph Hanke. Already saw him in a final in Villars. That already feels a long time ago. Hard to believe it was only 3 weeks ago that we were in Villars. This lead season has packed in a lot of action already. And there she is. You might have heard the venue MC. He knows full well where she comes from, and so do the crowd. And she gets a very warm response.
Eye of the Tiger drops into the DJ's sound desk then. The crowd love this.
Takes the shoe covers off and cracks on. Really interesting to see. She's short climber. She is small of stature. Salome, it'd be interesting to see how that affects her on those key moves right, assuming she gets that far. You'd have thought within her caliber and the encouragement of a local crowd, she'll be on the snake volume before too long.
It's really interesting to see from Margot there. She really, like we said, through that crux section, she was just feeling it out. And I think that double knee bar that she found, that kind of inverted, upside down right knee bar rest, was really, really wily climbing. That's put Margot in a brilliant position. Surely we're going to see her in finals.
Christoph Hanke, meanwhile, he's also low on the route. The two athletes about level with each other. As it stands, not quite hit the steeper section of the wall.
Conditions here in Briancon dropped into the absolutely perfect category. The sun's gone down, slight breeze, kind of mid to low 20s, absolutely perfect. And it's gonna. Charlie just puts his coat on. I'm from Britain. This is absolutely scorching from where I come from.
Yeah, not lived in Britain for a long time. I think I'm going soft. So Margot Hayes leading the way, 37. Keep an eye top of your screen there. Helen Janico. We'll find out for you where 29.5 plus came from. There's obviously been an appeal. Meanwhile, Marcello Bombardi, winner in Chamonix and leading the way here. Sam Avezou, 35 plus, as I say, the Youth B lead world champion from Guangzhou back in November. Domin Skofic, who we chatted to earlier, currently still in 5th. Kachira Koranaga, Max and Hannah's making up the rest of the men's top 8. They will be watching this very nervously. You suspect may not have done enough, unfortunately. barring a huge rain shower or something similar, and I'm looking at the horizon, I don't think we're going to get one.
Yeah, as we mentioned at the top of the programme, it's actually the route setters really making sure they get a result here in the semi-finals. The sort of mountainous weather here can really be unpredictable, but it is blue skies at the moment. Really hope that stays for tomorrow's competition. As Salome then works her way slowly up into kind of halfway point on the route, which is where the first real crux section comes into play. As Christoph Henke then starts his fight into the head wall. On the bottom right hand side of your screen, kind of stalling slightly, Christoph, but so far so good.
Great close up there of Salome, just trying to regather her thoughts. Still got a few more moves before she makes it onto the snake. You can just see it on the top of your screen as Christoph Henke slipping as he enters the head wall. Yeah. We can focus on Salome.
So the local MC getting everybody behind Salome then. They know the troubles that the climbers have faced through this section. Can we see someone matching Margot Hayes' performance then? Has a look at the various options. Choose to go, I thought she was going to go right hand, but choose to do the cross with the left. This seems to be the best method. Hopefully she can drop into that kind of knee bar that we saw Margot Hayes getting, but maybe she doesn't need it. This is a good burn here from Salome Ramon.
Again, I mentioned Salome, one of the smaller climbers, and she's able to get her feet that bit closer to her body and just get something out of that right toe, whereas we saw Margot using the knee bar. Salome just hooking the right toe, and it seems to be working. She's got something for both feet there, just doing a bit of the work for her, because if you let your arms do all the work here, you are out of there.
So Salome then having a good look, looking in good condition here, tries to find the right foot, really hovering, twists it on, goes to the end, but it's blocked. She needs to fire up now with the right hand. Molly went over with the left and didn't work for her. Up with the right, sticks it. Oh yes, a good few thousand people really enjoying that here. Elbows are raised. She's really fighting early on in this crux section, but this is good work here. Oh,
but she got clear of the crux moves. Salome used a lot of energy. You could really see the battle as she came off the end of it, but she got clear of them. We've now seen two of the women get clear of that volume.
Let's have another look then. This is Salome's fight. She did really well, and the crowd really responded through her. You could see how much energy was sapped in that lower section, and as she went for this next move, realistically she just looked so tired and so pumped, but it was a great effort. It obviously puts her into second position.
It takes it back in front of her home crowd. She's a real character, Salome Roman. I think she enjoyed that.
Philip Schenk then, another Italian, joins the competition.
Just having his 40-second observation period before he climbs. Catherine Chung of Switzerland will be out on the women's route very shortly.
So a good semi-finals here so far. Lots of high points in the men's. A lot of men tackling the top couple of moves. Not so good in the women's. A lot of climbers falling off in the same position, but with a good number of climbers still to come and a lot of very, very strong climbers, a lot of World Cup winners out there still to come. I think we're going to see a potential for maybe a top in the men's, maybe a top in the women's as well. Time will tell, but I don't know, with the likes of Janja Anak, Jane Kim and Mina Markovic still to come, there could be a top here in both the men's and the women's.
Just a quick one I mentioned earlier about Helen Janiko. She had been given 29.5. She'd been upgraded, her score, presumably on appeal. Here is the explanation. On the right-hand side of the snake hold, there's the green nub. There's a green bolt on the one that's closing off the end of the snake for any use. The route setters didn't count that as a hold, so to go from 29 to 30 was to make the first move off the green snake and onto the next volume. However, Rita went straight to the volume, as you would expect, whereas Helen was actually able to hold what the route setters didn't consider to be a hold. So instead of renumbering them all, they just gave a 0.5 on her score because she used a hold the route setters hadn't identified as a hold.
I mean, that's where the experience of the judging team really comes in. They have to take the route map that the route setters provided with them, look where the look where the climber has made an additional move and then renumbered the entire route on the fly as the competition continues. So good work from the judging team.
Yeah, no point renumbering it, but as I say, Helen Janico, she used the blocked off end of that snake volume, which the route setters hadn't considered to be a hold, but she did manage to successfully use it, so she was given a 0.5 on top of her score. For everyone else we see in the future, presumably, unless someone else manages to use it, 29 is the last hold on that snake volume and 30 is the first hold after it.
I do wonder if they're talking about the actual sort of the green blocked hold or just the bit of the volume just next to it. I mean, it's so hard to tell up there, and it's kind of one of the same thing almost, because they're both awful to hold on to.
Yeah, I was told it was the green Bolton, but I suspect you're right. I suspect it's actually the end of the volume, which is effectively all part of the same hold.
Philip Schenk then into kind of the halfway point, I would say, of the route, just after halfway, and as we heard from Domin Skovic earlier in the interview, this is where the route really starts.
He's got a few more moves as well before he's off the steepest section of the wall. Looking nice and controlled at this stage, feet cut loose, quickly gets them back on. And you can see the effect that the base is having on our cameras, all sorts of shaking going on. We've certainly pumped up the volume in the last half an hour or so.
French Federation really know how to put on a party, which is an excuse for a climbing competition, I think, or it's the other way around, I'm not sure. This is good work then from the Italian. Nice work on the toes. You can see the rubber actually dragged off his front of his foot there. Oh, and I think he went almost with too much confidence there, with just looking so happy, so relaxed, and just fired across with the left hand. And yeah, he just kind of went with so much confidence. I think he kind of misread it, unfortunately. But it's a good effort nonetheless.
So Catherine Chung, she's the next to try these moves right. Across the snake, you can see the hold we were discussing with Helen Jenico. It was at the right hand end. And she's quite tall, Catherine. It'd be interesting to see what method she tries to employ. We saw Margot Hayes, who's also relatively tall for a female climber, managing the knee bar. Catherine not really getting too much out of the feet at this stage. Now she realises that she's going to need to get something out of them from here on.
Trying to shake through this section, but I think it's going to be speed that kind of counts, moving between the holds at least, and that's nice work. Drops into a good knee bar, and actually the trousers might come to an advantage quite nicely there. Kind of bit of purchase off the fabric. This is where exactly what we saw Margot Hayes doing, dropping back down to the sort of wrap on the right hand. She actually switched legs now and went into an inverted knee bar, but doesn't look like she's needing it just at this stage. This is good effort from Catherine.
Jim Pope will be out next on the men's route. Meanwhile, Catherine, shaky out. Light, there's Jim, just arrived, bottom right of your screen. He's out. 40 seconds observation begins. Catherine, nice work. We've seen climbers battling every move here. She's able to look at her watch midway through, but needs to get a move on. Speaking of time,
I think this is the key to the move, though. Really trying to rest your way through this section, get the most out of that double knee bar rest. It really gets hard now. It's got actually that as an undercut. That's going to work well for her, assuming she can drop in. Goes to the end. That's the 0.5 that we talked about a minute ago. She's actually taking these as undercuts. This is really hard, but good work. That could help her. Oh, and actually went to the wrong hold. Can't help but think that if Katharina Chung there, if she went to the right hand kind of shoulder move instead of the next hold up, she would have put herself in a good position. Once again, climbers falling through the snake.
Jim Pope still very low on the route. That's quick draw number 3 he's on now, just so you can get some idea.
Easily Jim's best qualifying result to get to this stage. Joint 7th. As we said earlier, has previously won one European Youth World Cup. This is one of his kind of few senior World Cups, so absolutely stonking result so far for Jim, and great to see Londoner pushing it into the World Cups.
Joint 4th on the second men's qualifying route this morning. And on the top of your screen we'll see the updated results. Margot Hayes, still the only female climber we've seen really get into the top section of this women's route, and there's still a few moves that remain a mystery. On the men's, there's only a couple more moves before we see a top. Marcello Bombardi leading the way. Sean Bailey follows him. Sam Avazu, what a popular finalist he would be. Currently sitting in third place.
Great work then from the 18-year-old Jim Pope. Looking good and composed so far on the route. Kind of really tackling his mindset going into this competition. Knows he has the potential to make a real impact on the senior lead route. And so far so good for Jim. Like we said, he's come straight from Seiyu's, climbing outside a rock, multiple hard ascents. It's good work from Jim then. Oh, struggling a little bit. Body just dropped, but regains it, and so strong on the left arm there. We've seen a few athletes drop there.
Yeah, I wonder if that was a bit of adrenaline from Jim. Almost went too far on that move. Went past and had to drop down onto it. Made it look even more physical, but back in control it would seem.
Another big cut loose from Jim Pope then. Good fight here.
Katarina Posch is out on the women's route.
I'm sure a lot of the fans back home in London were really screaming at the TV sets now. This is good work from Jim Pope. See the strain on through the right bicep there and on the face. Jim's having to work hard. This is where we lost the previous climber. Drop into the left hand. Jim's looking good. Switches feet. He's very good technically on the feet. Jim Pope then heads into the head wall.
You can see Jim's shadow cast on the wall now. It's virtually night time here in Briancon. As Jim powers up, the right hand's there. Now it'll be the left.
This is
got to control it.
Got to get the hard clip. I think he's in trouble. He's going to go for the next move. Goes for it. Can he clip from this next position?
He's actually. I actually suspected he might have forgotten that last clip or not noticed it. He was well clear of it. I don't know where he was planning to clip from.
I think he got to that stage where he knew he was in big trouble and just sort of went, I'm going to push on for the next hold, try and push for a position in the finals. No matter where that leaves Jim, I know he'll be absolutely ecstatic with that as a competition result. His first lead World Cup this year and a great result. And you can see the quick draw dangling down and right. I know, yeah, like you say, sailed on way past that. If he carried on to the top, he would have been hitting the floor on his way down.
Got to clip every quick draw as well in sequence, so we'll see where that leaves Jim. Katarina Posch, meanwhile, here she is, Team Austria. Still another Austrian climber to come on this women's route, Jessie Pilz.
In the women's category then, we're into the stage in the competition where all of the women competing for the rest of the competition here in the semi-finals topped the second route in qualifiers, so she's going in with a good score on Route 1 with 39 plus and a top in Route 2. So Katarina Posch been on the scene for a long time, 7th in the European Championships earlier on in the year. Let's see what she can do here in Briancon.
Also at the stage in the women's competition, Katarina Posch is the 8th to last climber out, so we can, after she's finished climbing, we can begin to confirm finalists. We will have people that can't be caught very shortly. 8th to last climber. So Katarina Posch, one of the taller climbers. Which method will she use to get some weight off the feet? The Salome Roman technique of just tipping those toes onto that right hand hold, probably out for her. You'd imagine the knee bar will be the way to go. Trying this quite a physical way and slips off. I think she knew that wasn't quite the method. Once the feet are directly underneath you like that, those handholds are so poor, it's so hard to stay on. Meanwhile, Thomas Johan is out in the men's. So as I say, 7 climbers still to go in the women's competition. That means that Margot Hayes will climb tomorrow in the final. Katarina Posch has not surpassed Margot Hayes, so Margot is through. Thomas Johan is the 6th to last climber. We'll talk results in just a second. Katarina Posch making her way off the stage. Disappointed, I think, with her climb there. Just didn't quite seem to figure out exactly how to use those feet.
Yeah, Katarina not having the best start to this season. 21st last time at Chamonix. She said she was suffering with illness there, and you do wonder if she kind of has not recovered fully. Obviously not much time between the competitions, so another slightly disappointing result, but looking forward to seeing this next climber out, the young American Brooke Rabatou.
Yes, 2 young climbers out on the wall. Brooke seems unfazed by the whole experience. Very calm, very composed. Just taking every second she's allowed to read the route. Thomas Yuan, meanwhile, you can see him in the middle of your screen, really fighting here. That nice, fast, dynamic style of his. Brooke Rabatou, she was 10th last time out in Chamonix. Also 9th in the Vale World Cup in the bouldering. Real all-round athlete, 2nd in Youth B lead, 3rd in Youth B boulder in the Youth World Championships last year in Guangzhou.
Here we go then with the French athlete on the left-hand side. Thomas, let's see what he can do on the top of this route. Can we see a top from a French athlete?
Allez, il y a tous les copains là. Ah, il y a Rémi Bourson là. Il y a tout le monde, les Français, les grimpeurs, tout le monde.
So Thomas Yuan now onto the head wall. It's virtually night time here in Briancon, and he just cannot quite land that right hand. He's disappointed with that result. Let's have a look at the men's scores in just a second. Meanwhile, Brooke Rabatou, you can just see her on both screens. That was Thomas Yuan. So Dominic Scoffitch described these as good holds. It just goes to show you that all things are relative in life. And he just missed a crucial part of the hold, and by the time his hand dropped onto it, it was too late. We can focus on Brooke Rabatou. Brooke, she's done that first tricky move. She'll make her way up this triangular volume, up the grey triangular volume.
This is good work so far from Brooke Rabatou, the young American. So composed at such a young age. It's really, really impressive to see. So many great competition results as well.
So just to let you know, in the men's competition we've got 5 climbers still to go, and that means that the top 3 are guaranteed their place in the final. They are Marcello Bombardi, Sean Bailey and Sam Avazou. Sam Avazou will climb here in Briancon in the final tomorrow night. What an experience that will be.
Especially for his mother, Cecile Avazou, who was on just such an amazing French athlete through the years, and for her to be out there, I'm sure all the family and friends will be around as well. It's going to be a great scene here tomorrow night in Briancon for the finals.
So much still to come this evening as well, as Brooke Rabatou doing things the physical way. That's not an easy way to do that move, as we've seen.
Let's hope Brooke's got the experience then to get through this section. Really struggling with the quick draws here. Full stretch then for Brooke Rabatou. Switches it for the clip off the left hand. Swings the quick draw to bring it in close. That's good thinking from Brooke Rabatou, and hopefully, like you said, Charlie, just enough to be able to recover some endurance back into the forearms.
Yeah, quick puff of the cheeks from Brooke there. I think she knows that that was a bit of a waste of her energy, but she's recovering it now. Just trying to figure out these moves. Doesn't want to leave the feet behind, because if she does, when they swing out, they'll pull her off the wall. She needs to find a way of getting them over to the right as well. Don't leave them behind. Now she's figuring it out. A bit like we saw with Salome Roman.
Oh, just nearly missed the right foot there. Really good fight here from Brooke. She seems to be struggling a little bit. Oh, once again, another top climber drops out of that section. It's a real shame for Brooke Rabatou. So it's Masahiro Higuchi from Team Japan, then all eyes on him for the moment. Early on in the route. Really cool section this for Masahiro. No footholds, just canvassing through. Nice style, nice start of the route from the route setters.
Out next in the women's competition we'll have Jessie Piltz. So just to bring you up to date with the scores, as I say, we're getting to the stage where we can already guarantee a few of the finalists. Margot Hayes and Salome Roman, they will be there. 6 climbers still to go, and those 2 are the top 2, so they can't be displaced from the top 8.
I think when Margot finds that out, she's going to be ecstatic, considering she had no idea how well she had done. So really looking forward to seeing Margot in a final, and a great result from her.
Top of your screen will flash the results across, as I say. In the women's competition, first 2 guaranteed their place. In the men's competition, first 3 guaranteed their place. Masahiro Higuchi taking his time, steadily climbing through the steepest part of this roof here in Briancon. Crowd enjoying this now. The crowd, if anything, has grown. The beer stand doing a roaring trade, as you might expect, at 9:30 in the evening in a French town. You can see there Jessie Pilz in the new Austrian uniform. We're used to seeing them in green. They've changed their colours. They're now climbing in white, if you're wondering why. They're not as recognisable as they were.
The fans are going to have to get the new season kit, just like in football. So Masahiro then starts his fight. This is where the route really begins for a lot of these athletes.
Yeah, even this cross-through move with the, presumably that he'll do with the right hand. Looks nice and in control. That's clever use of the feet. Even this move here has stopped a few of the climbers.
It's a really good looking burn here from Masahiro. Actually 25th last time out in Chamonix, so this is a real improvement on his campaign. As hopefully if he can get through these next couple of moves, he'll be definitely improving on that result. Nice work on the toe hooks then. This is good stuff from Masahiro Higuchi. Fine work as heads into this next section of crimps. Looks for the foot swaps. Tricky, and he's quivering slightly. This seems to be sticking with it. This is fine work here from Masahiro. Into the top head wall. We'll stick with this for a minute. Here he goes then, into the top section of pinches. Left hand secured. This is where we lost Jim Pope on this next move, but Masahiro has the quick draw in. One more move to secure equal top spot. Can he secure it? Oh, it's a great burn, and that will definitely put him through to tomorrow night's final.
He will be in the final. Meanwhile, we've got Brooke Rabatou fresh down from the wall.
Hello.
Brooke, how did you enjoy your route?
It was super fun.
And those moves out to the right, just talk us through it. It seemed like you couldn't quite decide how to do them.
Yeah, I got a little mixed up on that long hold, but I don't know. I didn't quite figure out the beta, I think.
And what do you think the beta might be? I mean, you've now watching Jessie Pilz head up there. What do you think the method might be?
I'm not quite sure, but I think that maybe just I took a little too long on those holds. Maybe should have moved a little faster.
You think that's the key? You need to use your energy really carefully?
Yeah, especially on these rope climbs where they just keep getting harder and harder. You gotta watch your energy level.
And what about those moves when you're getting higher and higher? Do you have to try and conserve energy on the lower section of the route where you're trying to climb quickly?
Yeah, for sure. Keeping good rhythm and stuff like that at the bottom is always important.
Well, hey, you're new to this World Cup game and doing amazingly well. Really good to watch you again. Thanks for talking to us.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Great to hear Brooke Rabatou then, really enjoying her performance, even though it wasn't quite what she was hoping for. As we look at then Jessie Pilz, really on form athlete, made finals last time out in Chamonix. Can Jessie Pilz get through the snake volume section and push into the top of the wall? We would really love to see a top here tonight.
Yes, we would. That was Rabatou disappearing off the stage. Jessie Pilz now is on those key moves to the right that we were just asking Brooke about.
Looks like she's found quite an efficient way through there. Not too confused by this sequence, but let's see if she can make this next hard move. Jessie Pilz so strong, you can see it across the shoulders there. No hesitation, no shake, just so solid. This is good work from Jessie. Crowd really appreciating this, and she's still looking fresh. Possibility for a new high point then. Can she challenge Margot Hayes on the top of the leaderboard?
She'll be in the final, we know that.
It's actually Stefano Gasolfi then, you can see on the bottom right of your screen. also a finalist out in Chamonix. Did well in the final, but had a wobble, didn't find a top like 4 of the other athletes did. Let's see if Stefano can be back on form and make another finals. It's Jessie Pills then into this top third of the route. Great work here from Jessie Pills. The crowd's really responding.
She won't know it, but this is her safely into the final, no trouble at all. And she looks really in control here.
So solid. That's where we saw Margot Hayes getting a really stretched rest, but it doesn't really look like Jessie needs it at this stage.
It seems a long time ago that we were watching Margot Hayes up there. Jessie Pilz, only the second climber to really get into this head wall here on the women's route in Briancon. We haven't seen a top in either men's or women's competitions. 5 climbers still to come in the women's.
And a lot of
3 in the
moves.
men.
Sorry, Charlie, a lot of moves still to come. She's very high up on the wall there, but this route really does snake around. She's fighting hard there, and this is a great effort from Jessie Pills. Crowd is really, really enjoying this now. Come on, Jessie Pills. Lots of moves still to go. Route set is really packed in the moves, high up on the route there. She must be getting close on time.
Jessie Pilz, she finds the green hold on top of that final yellow volume.
She's just into a half crimp there and moves up one more move. Really top section is really technical, quite hard to read, but this is really good work from Jessie Pills. Come on, Jessie. Elbows really raised now, she's fighting hard. Right toes just digging in, this is good work. One more move, oh, great fight. And a new current leader heading into tomorrow night's final. Jessica Pills from Team Austria put on a great show.
She certainly did, and we'll get a chance to see her climb again tomorrow night, that is for sure. Hard to tell what she made of that. When she sees the leaderboard, I think she'll be very happy with it. Let's have another look how it finished. Just went out with the right hand. Not an especially desperate move, I think, by the standards of World Cups, but fatigue playing a factor.
Yeah, I think like we said at the top of the show, this is a really kind of classic endurance route, and the route just builds and builds. So many moves, and it just, none of the moves particularly hard, apart from that kind of crux section. The route just kind of keeps going and going. And it's Stefano Gasolfi who's going at the moment then. Really on form in 2016, 2017. Climbed lots of hard routes outside, including multiple 9Bs in the last few months. So Stefano Gasolfi then, from Italy, looking strong. Can we see a top here in the men's semi-final route in Briancon, the perfect setting?
World Cup winner Stefano Gasolfi won in Xiamen in China last year, most recently. Amazing performance there. Wasn't a million miles off in Chamonix, just a slip from the head wall. And just used a tiny foothold there as a little bump up for that right hand. We haven't seen any other climber try that. Worked perfectly for him. Just bumped onto the right hand and looks very solid here, Stefano. Are we going to see a top? He crosses through with the right hand. Now it'll be the left hand.
Oh.
And I think he knew he was closer.
That was a good effort from Stefano. I was going to say, with 3 climbers still to come, we're really looking for a clean result here tonight. Thought Stefano could have been in for a shout of a top there, but wasn't meant to be. He just kind of went from 0 pump to 100% pump in one move there. It was really quite interesting from the Italian.
It's Julia Chanaudy of France. Fantastic week. And you might have heard a particularly exuberant fan come through our microphones there, giving Julia some encouragement. I think everyone in the venue heard that one, even above the bass that the DJ's pumping out. So in the men's competition, meanwhile, we'll see Sean McColl out next. I think last week when we were chatting to him, described his bouldering season as a disaster. Not the lead season. Seems to be enjoying himself.
Yeah, definitely. Well, he seems to be enjoying himself also, because he had at the World Games just last week a 3rd position, so he got a podium in a league competition. So Sean McCall definitely back on form and competing well once again, finding podiums. So Julia Chanaudy then from France, tackling the early stage of this route. As you can see there, we've not really talked about it, but how hard this section actually is early on in the route. Kind of a stack of volumes, and route setters just offering small edge on the left-hand side then, and then the flip on the undercut on the right-hand side. Sean McCall gets announced to the crowd as Julia Chanaudy. Looked like she was struggling a little bit there, but really no issue in the end. I thought she might have been off, but it wasn't meant to be, and we're very lucky to be joined in the commentary box by Jessie Pills.
Jessie, I don't know if you realise you're in the lead. Congratulations.
Thanks.
Those moves right that have stopped quite a few of the women so far. Just talk us through. You know you were on the long volume going to the right. It looked like you really found the correct sequence.
Yeah, I thought of this beat right in the beginning at the observation, and I was pretty happy that it worked out like I observed it. So yeah, I was a little bit afraid of this sequence because it looked really hard, and I thought it's the hardest part of the route, or one of the hardest parts. And yeah, I was happy that I could make it through, and yeah.
And it looked at the top as if you were just super tired. Did you just give everything? It looked like you just ran out of gas at the top.
Yeah, I could find a rest point, the end of the roof, and the next moves weren't so hard. I think I was pretty relaxed, and yeah, then the last pinch was pretty bad, and yeah, I couldn't make this move.
Okay, well, you did more than enough. You're in the lead. You'll definitely be in the final tomorrow night. We're looking forward to seeing you.
Yeah, me too. Looking forward to climbing finals.
Thanks for talking to us, and well done.
Thanks.
It's all eyes on Julia Chanaudy then from France. As we just spoke with Jessie Pills then, she said she found the right sequence through here. This is exactly how she read it in the observational period at the start of the competition. Great close-up. You can just see how steep the wall is there, as we see on the bottom right of your screen. Of course, one of the crowd favourites, Sean McCall. Looking forward to seeing his attempt on this route. Can we see a top? Sean McCall, one of the last 3 climbers out. It's Julia Chanaudy for now then, as she works through this section. A bit of a different angle there. She goes to the top of that hold. Goes for the flip of the undercut with the right hand. She needs to flip the left now or go straight up. Oh, great work from Julia.
And like we saw from Jessie Pills, suddenly a move that's looked absolutely the living end suddenly doesn't look quite so bad with Julia Chanaudy. Really nice and controlled climbing. Sean McCall went wild. Bottom right.
We are into the top world ranked 6 climbers now, and you can really see that, as you said, Charlie, through that section. The route really starting to open up for these climbers and finding rest where other climbers fell off. Sean McCall then approaches the top headwall into the crimps. This is good work from Sean on the right hand side.
Missed the VLR World Cup for a friend's wedding, but came back in Chamonix and looked on great form, thoroughly enjoying back in the lead. Goes up with the right hand. Meanwhile, Julia Chanaudy, she's feisty on the women's route. Both climbers on both sides of the screen. Key moments on these routes.
Brilliant action here in Briancon as both climbers, like you say, Charlie, progressing really well. Crowds going wild for both athletes, not just the French competitor Julia, but also for Sean. Sean McCall then stalling out a little bit. Oh, Sean McCall is one of those athletes you really know when he's going to fall off. He lets you know, and it was a great burn. And potentially, Charlie, what do you think? Will it be enough?
Let the scores update before I give you anything.
Sean McCall's fans are going to want to know what's happening, but it's Julia Chanaudy then who's putting in the show now then. Taking that rest. That's exactly where we saw Margot Hayes and Jessie Pills putting in a good rest. Jessie Pills said she really enjoyed finding that rest, and it was the head wall that kind of slowed her down a bit. But Julia in a bit of trouble here, but doesn't matter really, because she, with that performance, getting through that lower section, will make it through to the finals. Another French athlete through to the finals. Going to be a great show tomorrow night. So Sean McCall and Julia Chanaudy take the applause then. A great show, and only 2 competitors left in the men's category. 3 left to come in the women's. Out next will be Jane Kim. Let's have another look then at the top of the screen. It's Sean McCall. Loving the hair this year from Sean.
Keep us all guessing. So this is the third to last hole he's going for, and he got a good hand on it, but yeah, as you often see, never looked like he really thought he was going to stick it, but you'll get the plus for that. And there you can see Jessie Pills, 42 plus, leads away Julia Chanaudy. We've just seen her in action, 37 plus. Margot Hayes, Salome Roman down in 4th place, and we've got 4 climbers still to go, so that top 4 will all make it through.
In the men's category then, it's Mashiro Higuchi from Team Japan, 36 plus, tied with Marcello and Sean Bailey, also on 36 plus. So quite a few ties as we go into the finals. Sean McCall then will be joining us shortly, 35 plus. Stefano and Sam Avezu also through. Top 6 automatically go through with 2 climbers still to come out. So quite a few ties going into the final tomorrow. It's going to be tough. Obviously the Roots has said they really wanted to find a separation. Not always the case. Obviously with such so many climbers, so talented and so equal in their strength and weaknesses. It's going to be really interesting tomorrow night's final.
And one man that will be in that final, Sean McCall. You have made it, don't worry.
I was just checking.
You look like you're enjoying the lead season.
Yeah, I'm definitely enjoying the lead season. It probably has a lot to do with, my bouldering season was pretty disastrous, actually. Makes me motivated for the lead season. My 3rd lead comp of the year in IFSC, 3rd finals, so definitely liking it.
I'm really interested why you seem to have suddenly found form in the lead climbing competitions. Is it the nature of your training? Do you think that as you get older and more experienced, lead becomes naturally something you get better at? I mean, what is it that suddenly kicked in?
I mean, experience is definitely something. I mean, I looked, there's only 4 people in the semifinals that were even born in the 80s for the men. So I think 2 for the women. So I kind of look at those kind of things just as funny statistics. But I've been training bouldering and lead for so long now. It's kind of like rinse and repeat. And I was maybe a bit heavy in the bouldering season, but I still have a lot of power. And you can see that I love power routes. So yeah, but I'm having a lot of fun this year. And at the same time, having a little bit better success. So it's looking really good for me.
And what was the route like? It looked like a really fun one to climb.
Yeah, I didn't actually know how high I was supposed to get because I heard at the beginning people were kind of falling early. There was a really hard move, like the 4th move or something was super hard. Kind of almost fell, and then I was like, get into it, like get your rhythm. I did the roof kind of like pretty well for my standards. And then I got to what we thought was going to be a really hard move, and did that off that undercling, and I felt really good there. And then I just kept it together, and then I got, I think I was in the top 3 when I fell. So
yes, and you are safely into tomorrow night's final. So
excited,
congratulations, we can't wait to see you climb. It's always a fun climb to watch. Looking forward to it.
Hope you guys enjoy watching. See you tomorrow.
Yeah, and get your breath back.
Yeah, I know. Thanks.
Thanks, Sean. See you tomorrow.
Great to hear from Sean McCall then, and like you said, Charlie, crowd really, really excited to see Sean tomorrow night. Hope you guys can tune in for that as we have a look. On the bottom right hand of your screen, it's Sebastian Helenke from Germany. Another great haircut from him. And Mina Markovic, the legend from Team Slovenia, starts her route on the right, on the green holds.
Yeah, I felt a bit sorry for Sean there. It felt a bit like when you sprint to catch the bus and you're not out of breath and you think you're a total machine, and then 30 seconds later you suddenly start panting, and about halfway through he suddenly looked as if he was going to keel over. He just needs to sit down, but he's okay.
That must be the age catching up with him, like you said there.
Steady on. Steady on.
Sean McCall is one of those athletes, really, age seems to be no barrier for him. His training just seems to be increasing year on year, and he's just an incredible athlete.
Well, we're still yet to see Romain Negronge, already a World Cup winner this year and European champion, age 35, so yeah. I think we're going to be seeing Sean in World Cups for many years to come, that's for sure. So Mina Markovic, another veteran climber with still an awful lot of top-end climbing left in her. Sebastian Halenka, meanwhile, bottom right. Great silhouetted shot of the Mohawk against the ground there.
Here we see then, it's Sebastian on the top. Can we see a top here with 2 climbers still to go? The German looking super solid so far. Really no issues and really enjoying his leading once again. Sebastian after a short break. Sebastian then toe down on these small footholds. The crowd rises for him. Options for the left feet, goes for the higher one. Foot swap there where we've seen other shorter climbers step through. Sebastian Helenke then looking so solid here. Come on.
Looks so composed. The left hand goes up. Not really showing any sign of fatigue. Just beginning to grit the teeth. Are we about to see a top here? No, we're not. We will see him in the final though. Waves to the crowd. Mina Markovic, meanwhile, we were concentrating on Sebastian Halenke, is on to the snake volume.
Mina Markovic so confident on the crimps. You can see that through the years of her competing, really cranking down on the crimps. Great sequence here from Mina Markovic. No issues so far through this section, and like we said earlier, this route really seems to be opening up now into the top 6 competitors. So Mina Markovic, one of 2 Slovenians still to come out. Janja Garnbret still to come, and you can see the strain on Mina Markovic's face there, showing that this section really isn't easy. really gritting the teeth, but making sure it happens.
She's off the snake. She's onto the upper section. 3 climbers still to come in the women's event. Jane Kim, Anak Verhoeven and Janja Garnbret. In the men's competition, it's just Romain de Grange to go as Sebastian Halenka is being untied on the stage.
Just as we concentrate on Mina Markovic, if the last climber out, who's obviously a Frenchman, can top the route in front of the French crowd, that would be a great show for the semi-finals. But
Briancon will go crazy, and Mina Markovic, meanwhile, has done enough to make the final. She obviously won't know that on the wall. Been interesting chatting to the climbers. They're not always aware of how they've done, but she'll be in the final tomorrow. She's done enough. She's through. Jane Kim, Anak Verhoeven and Janja Garnbret still to come. And as I say, Romain de Grange, the last man out. All eyes on him.
Oh, Mina Markovic taking a big cut loose then, just struggling a little bit to find her feet through the steep wall. But like I said, she's already done enough, but she doesn't know that. She will fight to the death. That is her style. 100% effort all the way. Come on, Mina.
Are we going to see a top? 4th to last climber, Mina Markovic. And she's making very good progress at this stage. We had a great moment in Chamonix last time out where she gave a big grin right near the top of the route. I don't think she's going to here. That move looked tricky. The foot came off. She looks disappointed. Probably doesn't realise that that's more than enough.
It's a great effort and good burn from Mina Markovic, really tucking those elbows in on the crimps. It obviously was enough, but she didn't know it at the time, but she comes down. Obviously someone in the crowd's given her the heads up.
Yeah, I think she was just trying to catch someone's eye there, just to confirm. She'll be pleased when she finds out.
Another fine performance from the veteran that is Mina Markovic. Just 3 climbers left then in the women's category as the crowd is waiting. It's Romain de Grange who's going to start his campaign, where we'll be swiftly joined in the commentary box by Sebastian Halenka.
Sebastian, you're currently in the lead. Fantastic performance. How was it to be up here in Briancon in front of this huge crowd?
Well, first of all, thank you a lot, and yeah, I'm really happy to be finally in finals in Briancon. I mean, I've never been in finals here, and I've always enjoyed that competition a lot. I know that it's actually quite my style. I have to confess, at the beginning of the route, it was a little bit a struggle that I had because I almost slipped with my hand from sloper, so I got a little bit out of my climbing rhythm. But nevertheless, I knew I could kind of actually rely on my physical shape, so I just tried to switch off my mind and just keep on going forward. And yeah, I mean, I don't know which place I currently am, but...
You're in first place.
Oh, really? Cool. Well, that's nice. I expected there were some tops.
Now, there's a lot of people tied on the same score, but because of countback, you're currently leading the way.
All right.
But you were disappointed in Chamonix, but you feel that physically you feel good. There's nothing wrong with your form.
No, physically I know that I'm way better in shape than ever before, actually. I know that, definitely. But the routes this year so far, besides that competition right now, they have been pretty strange, like totally different to the years before. So I don't know, all my training I realized that it didn't really use me a lot for these routes. So yeah, right now it's the first time I felt like, again, really climbing in proper climbing routes. So that was an amazing feeling, and yeah, I'm just so glad to be finally in finals here.
And this route you were climbing on, it was pretty traditional lead climbing.
Yeah, it was a really nice route. I mean, it was still, although it was a traditional lead climbing route, it was not at all old school. You had to move forward. You didn't have actually resting positions. So I think this is a pretty good example, at least in my opinion, about how a route basically should be.
Well, you're going to have a chance to climb another one tomorrow. So
oh yeah, I'm
luck.
so looking forward. Thanks a lot.
Us too, thanks. We'll see you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow.
So great to hear from Sebastian Halenka, then currently leading the way, and there's nothing like telling an athlete during the interview they're currently sitting in first position. But
yeah, we've had the pleasure of doing that a couple of times. It's been really great. So
can Romain de Grange then not have an early slip here? As we heard in a couple of the interviews, Sebastian and Schomakel found a few struggles early on, but managed to regain their composure. And Romain de Grange then, the crowd really wants to see this. A good 5,000 or 6,000 people here in Briancon. Looking forward to seeing the Frenchman at the top of the wall as Jane Kim from Korea starts her campaign low down on the right. Can the route setters go away in style and find one top in each category? Time will tell, and this is the opportunity to see it in the men's.
Yeah, Romain de Grange, I mean, he's a guy who likes a crimp, he likes a traditional endurance style route from the interviews we've heard. It's not an old school route, but it's traditional, it's endurance, it's small holes, it's continuing to fight all the way up the wall, not much in the way of rest. You would imagine this is a route that will suit that man on the screen, Roman de Grange, already crowned European champion this year, already a World Cup winner this year. He just seems to improve year on year right now. Since 2015, he's just been getting better and better and better.
Here he goes then into the top section, hits the left-hand pinch with no issues, crosses through with ease on the right hand. 5,000 or 6,000 people here screaming Roman de Grange's name. Can he go up more? One more hand, struggling a little bit on the right. Oh, and just drops down low. It will be enough. Puts him close to first position. That was a fine effort from Roman de Grange. No tops going into the final for the men's, but that's kind of pretty much exactly what the route setters were saying. Hard qualifiers, hard semi-finals, and a fine result from the Frenchman, and we're really looking forward to seeing him once again in a World Cup lead finals.
Yeah, that's the move we've seen a lot of the climbers stop on. That's 36 plus in terms of scores for Roman. It will be when his score updates. Yes, it has. So we've got 5 climbers tied on 36 plus on that move, and then there's a lot of ties down on 35 plus. So unfortunately, count back to the previous round counting. It's not always how we like to see the climbers divided, but there has to be a result, and we do have a result. So can now confirm your top 8, or we will do in just a second as we watch Jane Kim heading rightwards.
I think with the men's routes, I mean, potentially the route setters, I mean, they've done a good job, but they'll be reflecting back thinking maybe the lower section was a little bit easy, but they kind of got the result in the end. Like I say, a few ties unfortunately going into the final, but hopefully with the weather forecast it won't be a problem as we have a look at the results across the top of your screen.
Yeah, unfortunately the climbers aren't tied all the way through the competition, so we should be just fine for separation. Meanwhile, Jane Kim absolutely cruising moves that were stopping world-class climbers earlier on. Looking in complete control, checks the time. Jane Kim very rarely looks ruffled, but looks particularly unruffled here in Briancon. And there, and you can see on the top of your screen, in 8th place, Naoki Shimatani. He's the last finalist. Domen Skofic just misses out. He predicted we'd see a top. He wasn't right about that, and unfortunately he's just in 9th place. As we've said a few times, the man who just seems like he needs a break from it all right now. These climbers aren't robots. They just need a bit of time off, and I think Domen will try and find that in the next few weeks. Meanwhile, the closest you can get to a robotic climber, and that's meant in a very complimentary way. Jane Kim, that wonderful smooth style, and she is cruising into a final place here, and I have to say, hasn't looked troubled by anything so far. This is the smoothest and least tired we've seen anyone at this stage of the route. Jane Kim, when she clips this quick draw, that's the last one before the top. Just trying to figure out how to clip. Now she begins to look tired. Just about makes that jump stick. She doesn't generally like these jumps and dynamics moves, but no problem with that one. She gets it clipped. You can see in her face there's not much in the way of fatigue. Looks absolutely in control, even having an opportunity to chalk up. Not sure how she's doing for time. It may become a factor. She'll make the final either way. And now this will be the lead for Jane Kim. Smoothly onto that top section of wall. The floodlights drowning out our camera, but we can still see enough to tell you that Jane Kim will top this women's route here in Briancon. That is the first top in this semi-final in either men's or women's competition, and Jane Kim looked like she could have climbed that route in her sleep.
Amazing scene here in Briancon. Jane Kim, the Korean, puts on a fantastic show. That was an incredible climb from the start to the finish, no hesitation, and look at the smile on her face. Well done, Jane Kim. That was absolutely brilliant, and the crowd still standing and applauding for her. What a performance, and Jane Kim showing why she has been so dominant over the years. Gets the crowd going, the local MC just holding her there, just saying give it up for Jane Kim. What an awesome moment here in the semi-finals. Brilliant scenes, and Jane Kim just taking in the night crowd, taking in the scenes here in Briancon. That was absolutely awesome.
Yeah, nice touch from the MC and the B-layer there, just pausing midway down the route to soak up the applause of the crowd. I have to say, watching that, you're kind of waiting for the moment where she's going to start looking like she's trying. And we are used to Jane Kim's smooth style, but that was just next level. She cruised that route. It probably didn't feel like that on board, but I have to say, watching, there was no point where it looked like she was going to fall.
Yeah, never did the legs start quivering or the elbows start raising. Hesitation on the face, just So impressive once again from Jane Kim.
Hopefully we'll grab a word with Jane Kim, but in the meantime we can confirm your men's results. Here in Briancon, as I say, lots of ties, but we do have a top 8, and they are Roman de Grange, Sebastian Halenka, Masahiro Higuchi, Marcello Bombardi. Could he make it 2 in a row? Stranger things have happened. Sean Bailey and Sean McCall, the 2 Seans, 5th and 6th. Stefano Gisolfi will make it 2 Italians in the final, and Naoki Shimatani will make it 2 Japanese climbers. Domin Skofic and Koichiro Korinaga just miss out on count back to the previous round. So 2 climbers still to go here in the women's semi-final. Anak Verhoeven, World Games champion, European champion, World Cup winner, and Janja Garnbret. Listing her achievements, I think might take quite some time.
I think this is going to be really interesting now. We've got 2 climbers still to come out. This is the opportunity to see what form they're in. With a top from Jane Kim, can Anak and Janja match her and start to show us the kind of the level that these ladies are at going into tomorrow night's final, assuming they obviously get through that lower crux section and pushing on to the top of the wall.
Yeah, in the last 18 months or so, Anak and Janja have really just been trading blows throughout, and if one of them wasn't to make the final, it would be a massive surprise here in Briancon. But that particularly physical section coming through the snake-shaped volume, they've got to figure it out. Even climbers of their caliber can make a mistake, they can waste energy, so nothing guaranteed here. But another factor to bear in mind as well, count back to the previous round has so often come in, and having seen Jane Kim top the route, they'll need to top this route here if they want a gold medal, you suspect.
So can Anak Verhoeven follow suit? She's obviously going to be well aware of the fact that 6,000 or so people have been screaming for Jane Kim's top there, and can Anak Verhoeven just take it all in a stride and do what she does best, and that's slow, consistent climbing and no mistakes?
Very scientific-minded climber. Anak really thinks about climbing. It's a scientific approach, really thinks about her timing, how long she's going to spend on each section, really studies the route. She'll know what she's doing, and I'm sure, as Jessie Peltz mentioned, she, like many of the other climbers, will have identified where the tricky bits are. It's just a case of using your energy wisely and making sure you arrive at those bits with enough energy and getting through them quickly without burning up too much.
So it's Anak Verhoeven then, the penultimate climber out. Crowd want to see another top, we want to see another top. Route setters would be really looking for the perfect result, which would be just 1 top heading into tomorrow night's final. Slow and steady, as we said then, from Anak Verhoeven. Can she keep it together? This tricky section, but no issues so far. This is good work from Anak.
We'll just see her on this first tricky move, and then we have an extremely special guest in the commentary box. Let's just have a look at Anak. We've seen, it's just one of those moves, just tricky, but she manages it nicely, and we can speak to Jane Kim, fresh down off the wall. Amazing performance. Just tell us how that was.
It was really amazing at the beginning. A little bit tricky, but it's more easier than I thought. But the end of the route, there's a hold was not so good, but I tried to really concentrate. So I'm really happy to get the top.
It didn't look like you were tired at all at the top. Were you tired?
The last move, the big move, very far, and hold was not so good. So that move only very tired, but other things was quite okay. But I just make the sure because I got so nervous.
And you were the first person to top the route. Did you realise that?
Little bit. Yeah, I'm really happy. It was so amazing.
And you had a great moment when you were coming down and you stopped.
Yes.
And you saw the crowd. That was a fantastic
yeah,
moment.
Yeah, so nice. Briancon always gave me so passion.
Well, we'll see you in the final tomorrow night, and if you climb like that,
yeah,
anything is possible.
Hopefully I will get the top in final also.
We hope so too. Thanks for talking to us, and well done.
Thank you.
Fantastic to hear from Jane Kim then. Great job from her, and it's all eyes on Anak Verhoeven then, crimping the back of that undercut hold. Anak finding a really good method through here. Oh, heads up to the top of the volume there. Actually finding a different sequence shows the power of Anak Verhoeven then. Actually, we've seen earlier climbers falling off, using that sequence, and yeah, no issues.
And really intelligently done, just a couple of moves down. Suddenly she's in a really comfortable position. Anak Verhoeven. I mentioned earlier about how clever she is in her climbing. That's a classic example of it. She did that move a relatively high-risk way, quite powerful, but made it work.
So Anak Verhoeven getting to this point is already through to the finals. But can we see another top from the Belgian athlete?
Yeah, Jane Kim. Great to speak to Jane Kim then. And I didn't mean to be facetious when I said, were you tired? She didn't look tired. And as she said, well, not really until that jump. But amazing performance. A top here would go down very nicely for Anak.
So the route setters, when I spoke to them earlier, really looking for one top in the women's category. Such a hard line to draw, especially with the likes of Anak Verhoeven, Jane Kim and Janja Garnbret as the top three.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to talk to Jan Zabraniak tomorrow, get his thoughts on how it went. I suspect he'll be reasonably happy with their evening's work.
Yeah, I think the crowd have really enjoyed it. We've obviously enjoyed it, and hopefully the competitors have enjoyed it as well. So that's, it's a massive part of what it's about.
So Anak Verhoeven, doesn't seem like long ago we hadn't even set eyes on this top section of the route, and suddenly the second climber in a row is cruising these moves, and Anak Verhoeven, this jump move will feel slightly closer for her, you would imagine, than it did for Jane Kim, much taller.
Here we go, then Anak Verhoeven lining it up, looking for the percentages, looking for the best way. Anak Verhoeven, this is where we saw Jane Kim fly across. Oh, nicely done, like you say, Charlie. Not quite so far for Anak as it was for Jane, but loses the feet nonetheless. Anak Verhoeven starting a really good fight now. She obviously doesn't know how far she's got to go to get through to tomorrow night's final.
Yeah, she's really been into fight here, just not quite sussing out how to get both hands on that hold. Now she finds it.
Anak Verhoeven then. 3 moves left. Builds the feet, the right elbow starting to go. This is really good endurance climbing here from Anak Verhoeven. Just tucks in. She's really, really good climbing. She's really fighting. This is an incredible performance. The endurance is absolutely ridiculous on these top athletes. Come on, Anak. Oh, yes. Another fine performance here in Briancon.
Got to get that quick draw clipped, remember. There we go. Job done for Anak Verhoeven. Now she lowers off. Not quite as smooth as Jane, just figuring out those upper moves, but got there in the end. And I think you can see what it means to her.
A second top then in Briancon, the women's semi-finals. A great show. And as we keep saying, Anak Verhoeven's so scientific. I'm not sure if you saw there, but she actually clicked the stop on her stopwatch on harness the moment she dropped off the wall. She'll go back, analyse the number of moves, analyse the time it took her to get there. It's just always thinking for Anak Verhoeven, and just once again putting on a great performance and showing why she is that consistent.
So that's 2 tops here in this women's semi-final. Just Janja Garnbret still to come. She seems, I have to say, completely impervious to pressure, but if she does feel it, she'll have some now. Very rarely seems to affect her at all.
If Janja does find the top here, I think it's going to be a matter of how easily she finds the top, or no top at all. I think it's going to be really interesting to see what form is she on coming into the competition here in Briancon.
Yeah, by her standards, the World Games weren't great. Still made the podium, but when you look at Janja's winning percentage, anything other than a gold medal is not a great result. And as I said earlier, it would be a surprise if she wasn't to top here in Briancon. But we saw what a fight Anak Verhoeven had. It's certainly not a given. There was a couple of moves there where Anak looked like it was relatively high-risk method, relatively high energy use. We shall see. Here comes Janja.
So the final climber out here in an excellent semi-final round in Briancon, the Slovenian Janja Garnbret. She's a stranger to any position other than first, and can she do it once again here in the semi-finals? Last time out in Chamonix, the only climber to top the semi-final route. Obviously we've seen 2 tops already tonight in the women's, but can she find another top once again? Janja going into the finals as one of only 4 climbers to get tops on both of the qualifying routes. So Janja Garnbret once again not really falling off at her lead World Cup. Incredible athlete at such a young age. So the entire crowd here in Briancon watching out for the last climber. Janja Garnbret then just slow and steady, great flow in her climbing, really sort of, you may notice when she climbs, really swinging the arms between the holds, kind of using the momentum. Always climbing with a traditional pink bow in the hair.
Here she comes, Janja Garnbret, just to give you some idea of the calibre of athlete we're talking about. Since the start of last year, 2016's lead climbing season, she's taken part in 10 senior IFSC lead events, that's 9 World Cups and the World Championships, and she has won 7 of them.
Yeah, it's incredible really. I mean, second to none in terms of her consistency over the last year and a half. And just the way that she took away the win in some of those competitions was just ruthless.
But with Jane Kim and Anak Verhoeven snapping at her heels, nothing is a given here. And as I say, Anak Verhoeven, European champion, World Games champion, World Cup winner twice last year.
Well, I think what's going to be interesting going into this competition, a lot of the female athletes saying they wanted harder routes. The route setters have obviously put on a harder route, but still with potential for 3 tops. They've got to up their game once again going into the final round.
So, as you would expect, no trouble so far for Janja. Nice and smooth. Now she's heading up towards the snake volume. See it in the top of your screen. Wall-mounted camera doing its job very nicely this evening. And she'll start heading towards it shortly. Bit of evanescence cranking out here in Briancon. We've had a good soundtrack this evening. Sometimes we can fall victim to a tirade of Europop. But we've had Rage Against the Machine, Go Away, I Won't Do What You Tell Me.
Yeah, not quite my cup of tea, but you know, it's working. People here are really loving it.
Beats Europop. So Janja, smooth so far. The feet come off, but even when it happens, it seems as if she just takes it all in her stride. We'll see.
Yeah, I got really nervous there. I thought she might have just blown it. That would have been a real surprise. So her feet cut and the strength in the right arm to just crush the undercut on the thumb catch and take a complete cut loose swing was very, very impressive. Janja Garnbret then using a lot of energy lower down on the route. It's not plain sailing for her so far. With the amount of fitness this athlete has though, surely she's going to get it back in this next section and push forward for the top of the wall. Can we see another top then from Janja Garnbret? As we are joined in the commentary box after a fantastic top, it's Anak Verhoeven.
Yeah, Anak, that was incredibly smooth. Just talk us through that top section.
Well, the holds were actually quite okay. You could rest a little bit, even though it wasn't easy, of course. But for me, the hardest part was that I knew Jane had topped. And
was that just from the crowd reaction?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, that was obvious in the call zone. So that was difficult. It was a little bit the same as last year, where I was climbing after Janja and Jain, who had both topped the semi-final route. And so I know that semi-finals are important for the rest of the competition. So that wasn't easy. And an extra difficulty for me, which, well, doesn't really have anything to do with the route itself. Even though it wasn't that short, it was a time. Because I saw that I didn't have a lot of time left, so that didn't make it easier, and I couldn't take a lot of time to rest, so that wasn't easy. But the route is climbable, it's toppable. I knew this before I started climbing, so I'm really glad that I've topped it as well.
And it looked as if you had a couple of moments you didn't quite figure it out, and you wanted harder climbing. Did you get it today?
Yeah, it was quite hard. Well, unfortunately, there is no split yet. At least not between Jane and me. Let's see what Janja does.
Let's see. We're just watching our screen now. You have to excuse us. Just talk us through these moves. This is the dynamic-ish for you, for Jane. It was very dynamic. For you, not so much.
Yes, and I didn't know how the hold would be. This hold wasn't that good, actually. It was quite flat. So yes, I did it dynamically, and I didn't have a lot of time to think because of the time limit, the 6-minute time limit. So that's why I wanted to make a quick decision, and I thought, maybe this isn't the best solution. So I came back. I didn't want to waste too much time because I saw the watch which I have on my harness. I saw the minutes and the seconds going by. So, but
and this hold that Janja's going for now, as we watch on our screen, this is a reasonably good hold, or is this another move where you really felt you could fall?
Well, because I was so quick, probably, or trying to be quick, but it was a crimp, which was okay when you had a little bit of power left. So
here we go then, Janja Garnbret on the last move. Can we see another top? Looks like it once again from Janja Garnbret. Looks like we've got 3 tops in the women's semi-final here in Briancon. Fantastic competition, and good to see another top, or a bit of a shame going into the finals tomorrow. How do you feel?
Well, of course it's nice stopping a route, but we will see what tomorrow brings. I hope the route will be hard enough, and I hope the time won't be an issue tomorrow, because we are tied now. The 3 of us are tied in the qualifications and the semi-final.
We'll see. Pressure's on the route setter, not you guys. Just relax, enjoy, give it 100%.
Exactly, thank you.
Thanks, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Yes.
Another great competition then from Janja Garnbret. Nice to hear from Anak Verhoeven, showing all of the issues that competitors face going through the rounds of the competition. She knows that countback could be an issue. 3 tops in the semi-finals. So potentially, I mean, it's been a great route, it's been a great show, but the route potentially slightly easy, not getting the separation at the top apart from time. So yeah, the athletes with the 6-minute rule got lots of things to think about.
Bit like there was Janja Garnbret. A bit like earlier on, great to have Anak Verhoeven doing our bit for it.
It's Janja Garnbret leads the way then, Jane Kim second, and Anak Verhoeven obviously all pretty much tied in first place. That goes back to countback from the qualifiers. Great result from Jessie Pils, the Austrian, 42 plus. Good, really good form from her. Mina Markovic will be very pleased to make another finals. Slovenia is back in the game. It's Julia Chanaudy from France, 37 plus also. Margot Hayes, great to see the young American getting through, and Salome Roman finishes the finals list in 8th position. Great job from her. Helen Janiko, she was actually the second climber out. Misses out by 1 spot. In the men's then, 36 plus is the score that gets you through, alongside 35 plus. It's actually climbers missing out on countback, I believe. Domen Skofic, 35 plus, goes out. Ramon de Grange leads the way. Sebastian Helenke, we had a good chat with him earlier. Really pleased to make it through. Masahiro Higuchi goes through also. Marcello Bombardi, the winner out in Chamonix, back on form once again, 4th position. Sean Bailey makes another finals. Equals his good position getting through to the finals in Villars. Sean McCall, great to see him in another World Cup finals. Stefano Gasolfi, the Italian, and Naoki Matani from Team Japan finishes the list. And Charlie, a really inviting finals, really, really exciting.
Yeah, a nice combination of established names. You look at Roman de Grange, Sean McCall, Stefano Gasolfi, Marcello Bombardi, Sebastian Helenka, so lots of World Cup winners already in there. And then Naoki Shimatani, be interested to see how he gets on. Sean Bailey, one of those climbers that when he turns it on can really perform, as the crowd disperses here in Briancon. So that's 26 men and 26 women who've been through. We are hoping to grab a word with Janja Garnbret, but I fear our time might be out. We will speak to her before the semi-finals, and we'll bring you that interview next time. Finals are tomorrow night here in Briancon. It's 7:30 p.m, followed by 9 p.m. for the men. We'll see you then. Thank you very much, Mike Langley.